Tax Committee for Warren County to order on January 21st. I have a motion to approve the minutes from the November meeting, made by Kevin, seconded by Jean. Any discussions, deletions, additions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Abstain, please. Abstain.
Abstain. Charles in trouble already? You haven't even...
Uh-huh.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Right here. Sure does.
First, we need the good news. Michael, talk it to us.
Good morning, everybody. I handed out a little tally sheet. It looks like as of January 16th, our 2019 increase looks like about 7.41%. We won't have the actual figures on this for probably another 2 months, but it's looking good. And before you ask the questions, part of that increase is collection from short-term rentals, and part of that increase is from enforcement.
It's from what?
From enforcement.
Enforcement.
In other words, going after people that haven't paid us.
Excellent. It's all good. Anybody have any questions for Michael? Go ahead, Craig.
A little more explanation on the short-term rentals of how we're getting the money through on that. So we have agreements with...
We've got a couple of small ones under our belt, and we're collecting on those. Maybe 25% of the people out there. What we found is that not only are there some major internet providers, but there's also a huge market from local realtor-type organizations that are also working on these, especially around the Lake George Basin. So we're trying to get those under our wings, too, to have them start contributing. And that kicked the amount of units up considerably from what we weren't really aware of before.
Go on.
Do we have the contract with Airbnb finalized, and are we looking at contracts with other type agencies?
Yes and yes.
Okay. So they're collecting it directly?
We have not received a payment from Airbnb, but yes, they are collecting it directly. The first payment should be in next week, I'm hoping.
Excellent. Anybody else? Thank you, Michael. Good job. Keep it up. Okay, the mayor hasn't shown up. That's a good thing. Oh, that's a bad thing. Oh, okay. Okay. So, is somebody talking to me? All right, we need a resolution to authorize the Warren County Tourist and Convention Development Agreement with the Adirondack Civic Center Coalition, Inc. for $250,000. Somebody want to move that? Claudia? Second by Kevin. Any comments? Conversation? Craig?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Is this in addition to the capital
Correct.
campaign as well?
Yep.
Which was, what was that, 100,000?
100,000.
Okay. And that capital campaign was for how many years? 4?
5.
It's 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
Mike?
Chairman, thank you. Do you have any idea when the Civic Center is going to be here and give us their report? In terms of how they spent this money, what it's done for their business, and what their outlook is going forward?
They've been coming in quarterly, Mike, with a report, very detailed report. And they're readily available if you're interested in contact me. I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
We don't have anything on the schedule? Okay, now in March?
They were just here in November. I can tell you that their attendance.
They were here
Was a year.
in November, the last time, Mike. They had an attendance number of 131,000 people. So, probably February or March they'll be back. Rachel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering if perhaps in the future, could we just get a copy of that report? Could that be emailed out, like, whenever they were submitted? I know historically they used to, and I apologize for my catching up for the last 2 years, but
That's
I
all
think
right.
that would be helpful
Won't take you
out
long.
to the board. I'm sorry?
I said it won't take you long to
Okay.
catch up. We're slow moving.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and seconded. Anybody have any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great. Resolution to authorize continuation of an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Lake George for the Lake George Visitor Center. That's a $25,000 annual thing. Somebody want to move that? Gene? Kevin, second? Any discussion, questions, comments, rumors? Claudia? Did I go too
It's not
far?
really about the money, but the, is this the location where the posters were getting installed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that done?
Right at the corner of the Beach Road and Main Street. Oh, boy, Gene is
That all
ready
done?
to burst.
I can speak to that because we fitted it out with the, with Sarah Frankel from the county. So the posters are just about done. They'll be ready, I don't know if they'll be ready for Winter Carnival because we opened back up for weekend for Winter Carnival. We did see roughly about 57,000 people come through that we count, when we're open throughout the season. And there's not only the posters, but there's also new sheets for each municipality, for all of the towns, the cities.
Great, thanks, Gina. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a spending plan for 2020, Perfect Vision. This is Resolution 501, 2018 to 2019.
Second sheet. No?
Find it, Pete?
That's 2018.
Everybody got it? Got a copy of it?
Last year, for the towns, were,
So it's the same as the last.
Yeah, that's why. Was there another resolution in 2019?
Right, we're just...
Does everybody have a copy of it?
Of
Yes.
2020 or 2019?
we haven't done one yet.
Well,
That's the question.
I think we're tracking off of the 2019 to see what the board wants to do for
It-
2020.
The motion was made in 2018 for 2019.
Okay.
That's what's confusing. That's the 2019 spending plan you're looking at. Now, if you flip it over, you'll see that the distributions to the towns, Lake George was 150, they cut it back 5,000 and change. Bolton was 60, they cut it back to 54. Queensbury was 60. So you can either put it back where it was or continue with it as it is. or-
Mr.
Craig?
Chairman, to the other towns, the $15,000, that stands as, always has been.
Yes.
Not always.
That's what the 135 is.
Years ago, right?
2 years.
Craig, the 135, that's what that is.
Yeah.
See, it says towns and city of Glens Falls.
But this is that's above and beyond the other resolution of the 40...
Correct.
30.
30.
30 is what
30,
the
right.
original resolution was, way back in 2004. 30 and then they...
You're saying it went from 30 down to 15?
No.
No, there's still another distribution that comes out in the fall, doesn't it?
The 30,000 is paid in
Should be
October, that's
150,
the original,
60, this is 60.
the law was written in 2004.
Into
The
those
money is
funds.
paid in October, that's 30. This 15 comes out, I think, in the first quarter of this year, or
Well, this was
in the first half of this year, we
plan.
get the 15 first,
Yeah,
we get
this
the
is what
30,
it should have
and
been.
they do a true up on, I think it's
Cut
based
into
on
it.
actual
To fund.
oxy tax collected by community, I believe it is.
Rachel?
Oh, thank you. So, just to be clear, in 2019, you didn't propose a 2020. That's what we're doing now for 2020. Okay?
Right.
And then in 2014, Resolution 238 adopted the scoring system guidelines for OCTAX, but that has not been amended to date, correct, the scoring system? So if you go back to what it was before, it's just that flat 30, and then this would be
In addition
taken
to-
out of the equation for now.
Yeah.
Right, that's what you're saying. And that and these numbers were generated how it was based on who collected the most, not where the most events were?
I'm not sure exactly how they were done, Rachel.
Judge Judy would say.
I can-
Yeah, Judge Judy did it. I'm not sure. They were around number 150, 60, 60, and,
I'm just trying to determine how they were calculated, like what's the rationale behind the numbers?
well, the rationale is that the OCTAX goes up every year. So it's more and more. If you set a number that's not related to what you're bringing in, after a while you're falling behind the curve. It's like getting a job. You get a job and they give you X number of dollars, and 20 years later you're still making the same amount. Well, every year your income goes down because inflation goes up.
I'm just concerned with how much the rates have to be raised in order to keep up with generating that occupancy tax in each community, and when you look at divvying it out, should it be based on, how much is generated per community, or based on the events that are taking place to draw on those bed nights?
All that is taken into account, Rachel, when they
Okay.
did it. And we are soon to be in the process of reviewing all that. We have some
Oh, yeah.
serious OCTAX.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It'll be a field day. Ryan, did you want?
Yeah, just a clarification, sorry. The towns in the city of Glens Falls, it's 8 towns. We have 11 towns in all. The 8 towns plus Queensbury, Bolton, and Lake George gets to the 11. So 8 towns plus the city each get $15,000. And then Bolton, Queensbury, and Lake George also each get $15,000. That's all the special distribution that this board came up with 3-4 years ago, I think. Maybe 2 years ago. It was right before I got here, 2 years ago. And in addition to that 15,000, those 3 towns, Lake George, Bolton, and Queensbury, got 45,000 on top of that to bring them each to 60. So last year, that 144, 334, the adopted budget for that was 150,000. The adopted budget for the next 2 were each 60,000. But then if you go down to that 285,000 for county event funding, we had more events than we had allocation for. So this committee last year decided to dip into those top 3 towns and take some of their allocation away in order to fund those events. That's why you see the odd numbers there. But the adopted budget, as I said, was 150, 60, 60, and then the rest of the numbers that you see.
So the question before us is, does this spending plan work into 2020, or going back? I guess just my feeling on that, and that's what you asked for, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, it's just that the ability to be able to provide the countywide events, as we see in these requests, there's more than, as our administrator just noted, money than to go around. I'd like to see the county have an ability to look at countywide events and fund new ones, fund ones that are bringing in those events more inclusively. So I would not be
The
in...
requests for occupancy tax, whether it is individual towns or the county, generally are at least twice as much as money they have
Right.
available. Lake George is 2.5 times the money we have. And the county is twice as much, over twice as no matter how much occupancy tax you have, it's not enough. And that's gonna be our job here today, shortly, is to go through that list and see who we give what monies to, and that's what the applications are all about. So, you wanna be careful taking money away from one and giving it to the other.
Right, but this is new, right, just the last couple of years that you've been, it's
This
an additional
this is the
allocation.
last couple of years, it's
Yeah.
an effort to
Yeah.
redistribute the money that we've been gaining as we go along. Yeah. Mr. Conover?
Chairman, just to put a little history on this.
There we go.
The additional allocation to the towns goes back to a request that we had received for additional money, or for money, from the Civic Center in Glens Falls. And Mr. Gary was the chairman at that time, asked me to put together an approach that would hopefully garner support for, at that time, it was $250,000. And what we put together was a program that included the $250,000 to Glens Falls, but also included the allocations that were cited by Mr. Moore for the municipalities, $15,000 for each town. At that time, I think it was 45 for Queensbury and Bolton, and Lake George was more than that, but then it was amended upwards. The towns were amended upwards again, so that it became, I think it was 60, 100, whatever it was for Lake George.
50.
But the understanding was there were other elements to that plan which included a small provision for funding for small communities. There were other elements of that program. Since then, as you know, an additional $100,000 has been allocated for capital improvements at I'll call it School Arena. But the fundamental point was that a lot of the small events were to be funded at the local level. It used to be that all the events came to the county. We received millions of dollars of events from a request from $500 up to $50,000 or more. And those would all be hashed out at the county level, and we spent all day going over all of the requests. So the thinking was, well, this will provide more money to the towns, let them handle the smaller events, let them handle it. At the county, what we will do is we'll handle the regional events, the big ones, the American Balloon Fest, those kinds of things. We'll handle the regional events at the county level, but the small events will be handled at the local level. Naturally, what some of the towns experienced was that they didn't always have as much money as they needed for the events, but that also would be the case at the county level. We might, for example, get $3 million worth of requests and only have $2 million each month. So that's I just want everyone to understand that what the plan was that was approved at that time by the board.
Thank you. Kevin?
The only caveat I'll add to that is giving the increased funding to the communities, plus the Civic Center, was all about the events. It's everything we do should be about events and attracting people in the community. That's why, you know, when you read the reports that are on file at the county attorney's office, you know, we need to be diligent that we are funding events with our actual tax money. And when you deviate from funding events, that's when you get in trouble. You know, but I can assure you that most of the communities, all this funding is used for events. The Civic Center, I think, when we initially looked at it, I think they were doing, I think 85 events, or maybe it was something like that a year, you know, with their hockey events and the other things. So it's really all about events. And that's all I'll say about that. And I think all of us who use the money and put it towards, we should be putting it towards events. And if we're not, then we should maybe scale back. We're not putting it towards events.
Brad?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. If I'm wrong, and I brought this up before, I thought the whole purpose of the act tax and giving it to extract them here, and then once they're, you know, here and they're, you know, more financially stable in, you know, doing that, is that, you know, the yacht tax will be delivered to, other, events to attract them, so we can have more of a year-round, you know, event calendar. And, you know, you talk about the increases and, well, the more money we get, the more money they get, and we'll always seem to be running out. Am I wrong in understanding that's what it was originally set up to be? Was to, you know, to attract events, and then once they become, a stronger event and able to raise their own money, the yacht tax can be, you know, distributed to other events to attract them.
You're not...
I've never seen a financial report on, you know, any of the events, and I have asked for it, and I have to do my due diligence and go down and look for, and look at them. But, you know, I was just, my curiosity, I thought that was my understanding when I read back into the minutes of when the yacht tax was first established before me.
There are times and resolutions to that effect, Brad. They don't apply to all the events. For instance, the Balloon Festival, you know, gets 40,000 a year. It's one of our major events. It's right up in the top 5. Americade gets 50 every year. The Americades is the golden boy of the events. We give them 50,000, they give us 3 or 4 million in a week. So there are other extenuating circumstances. But a lot of cases, you're exactly right, they come in, they need some money to get started. Once they get started, they're good to go, and we stop giving them the money and redistribute it. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, a list of eligible activities that can be funded without tax is attached to every contract that's sent to every town that's centered issued by the county and the towns. I believe it, I don't want to say it's an appendix, but it's attached to every contract, and that recites everything that is eligible for tax money.
Which is everything. Michael?
Sharon, thank you. You probably know where I'm going with this, but a number of months back, and I apologize to a couple of the they may not have seen it, but I did a kind of high-level analysis of our return on our investment for this $4+ million. It's hard to measure, but I think I made some compelling arguments where we're not really getting a significant return on $4 million+ a year. We're maintaining, my sense is we're maintaining, but we're not growing. So my question is, how can we go through the budget, as you're proposing to do today, while still talking about an overhaul or a review of the strategy for occupancy tax expense? I think I heard that earlier in the discussion, that we're going to be looking at that. So how can you go too far forward with identifying all these things you're going to spend without understanding where you want to go? My contention is that we should take a chunk of this money and do something different, take some risks, but have a plan to kind of grow our economy versus just maintaining this.
Shouldn't be so impatient, Michael. We are doing that. We have a spending plan that's been approved, and that's what we're working on right now for the 2020. We have the funds, so we're going to sit down today and divvy them up. As this year progresses, we are going to do exactly what you're suggesting and go back and look at all the monies that we're getting, where we are with the OCC tax, and figure out what we need to do to stay on the straight and narrow. So it's two different issues. Right now we have money allocated and we need to distribute it.
Would it help if I speak to what's in the adopted budget for 2020?
Go right ahead.
So the adopted budget for 2020 for Lake George, $150,000. Bolton is $60,000. Queensbury, $60,000. The towns in the city, $135,000. The County Tourist and Convention Event Development Fund, that's the $250,000 that we just approved for the Civic Center. County event funding, $285,000. And the Lake George Convention and Visitors Bureau, $550,000. That's adopted budget.
Right.
Correct.
If I may just to follow up, can you tell me what, Bolton, Lake George Town, Lake George Village, and Queensbury received in total last year from non-tax money?
It's,
In total?
Good, me to read this? It's serious now.
Well, you have to get the
It says... Bolton is, do you have a copy of this?
No, I don't.
That's a good thing. Bolton, in 2019 was 271,000, Chester 52, Hague 53, Horicon 49, Johnsburg 55, Lake George Town 280, Lake George Village 275, Luzerne 50,000, Queensbury 232, Stony Creek Thurman 45, Warrensburg 46, and City of Gulf Falls 60.
This math is over $1 million for those.
What's it equal, Dennis?
Okay, what's your point?
A lot of money.
Town of Lake George, the Village of Lake George collect 50% of $44,400,000. 50%, half of that money was collected in Lake George Town and Village. Another quarter of it is collected in Bolton. Another 15% is collected in Queensbury. You add them all up and it's around 92%. So the rest of you, the other 8 towns, generate 8%. City of Glens Falls generates like 0.6%. So if you want to give the money back in the ratio that we collected it, I'm all for it.
My perspective is slightly different as at large. I don't have the benefits or the challenges of leading a town. But this is a county tax. And it sounds like it's more like a town tax because of how it's distributed. I'm just thinking that we need to do something more strategic with this, and maybe it fits into the economic development strategy that we're going to be working on. And, maybe we'll spend some time talking about that as we go forward.
That's exactly where we're going, Mike. The problem is there are a lot of things where it's difficult to determine the return on your investment. And that's the problem. I mean, you spend $1 million on advertising. How do you figure out what your return is in that?
Is that your responsibility or the committee's responsibility?
Well, it probably is, but I'm not smart enough to figure that all out. My take on it, if you're going to do anything in Lake George, I don't care what it is. You could have the Beatles come. If we have a thunderstorm, done, you're done. Whatever you invested in that event is gone. You're doing nothing. So there's a lot of things involved in these things. We need, first thing people ask you when they come here. They come in, they check in, they take their suitcases in, they come out and say, what can I do? What can I do? Where can I go? And that's what this is all about, the events. Kevin?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that a lot of the oxy tax, Mike, you got to compare it to what you're collecting sales tax. So there's a lot of sales tax that will match up. One of the reasons why a few years ago the auditors came in, they were looking at our sales tax collection, comparing it to our oxy tax collections and saying something didn't jive, so that we took steps to audit our oxy tax and go after some of the people who weren't being honest about the collection. So, I mean, there's more to it. I mean, City of Glens Falls, Dennis, you point out that they have so much, but people are staying in Queensbury, where the rooms are. People are staying in Lake George, and the rooms are. I'll point to the garage sale. I don't have any rooms in my community, but I know they fill them all in Lake George that weekend. And so, you know, there's a fairness issue. But to me, it's all about the events, doing what's right for the events. And for us, as supervisors to make sure that we're taking this money and we're properly distributing it. And if we're not, then we need to have that conversation on an individual basis with the towns saying, here's what you're getting. So, I mean, to me, I support the city, I support the events on here. I'm a little disappointed at one, which we'll talk about later on, but it's all about the events, and we need to focus. And if we need to make changes, we certainly can do that at a different time.
Rachel, is that you?
It was. Thank you, Dennis. I'm learning about some reports that I know historically have been very helpful, and I'm just wondering if this is something that has to be voted on today, or before you answer that. Or perhaps, I sent an email over this morning after learning about the reports that are filed with the county attorney's office, that we'd have an opportunity to look at the 2018, I would call it an after-action report. I'm not sure what you call it, maybe a performance report, whatever it is that is submitted by the towns. But that might be really helpful in determining, you know, how that additional allocation of money was spent and what the return on that was. But I don't know that without looking at it. But it leads me to my next, well, one, I know we can get that, but I was hopeful maybe we could review it before we vote on this. But also, is there, I don't want to use the word audit, because I'm aware, you know, I've used that before talking about OCTAX, and that doesn't really exist. But with these reports are filed to the county attorney's office on town spending, and the reports are filed with the tourism department on county spending, is there a collective review of those that talks about if the money was spent in the way that it was allocated? And Mr. Conover, you referred to the guidelines that are attached to each one of those, you know, just making sure that there's a checks and balance. Does that make sense? Am I making sense of this?
Yep. Lisa and Joanne go through all of those, and I do as well, just to make sure that there's nothing glaring that doesn't look like it wouldn't qualify for OCTAX.
So is there a report that gets like a summary of both the towns and the counties?
No, we look through all the pages that every town submits.
Okay.
There's not a summary, but I can tell you that there's nothing in my mind that stands out on those. I looked, the most recent ones I saw were for 2018.
Most of the events, especially the ones at the county, are tried and true events. Rachel, Balloon Festival, Car Show, Americade, you know the Warrensburg Garage Sale. So it's no really. The ones of more concern to me are the smaller events, and it's part of the reason why I've promoted sending them back to the towns, because they're more town related. I mean, I look at events up in North Creek, I don't know if it's good or bad. How do I know?
Those are those one-day events in the application that it's asked, that one-day events are going to the towns, right? Okay.
Well, it's all kinds of one-day events and the smaller ones. The larger events, the more regional ones are here. We started with 10, now we're up to almost
On the
20.
recommendation?
We're at 20.
I just struggle with looking at the resolutions from 2014 and the law, the amendments to the law in 2015, and trying to apply just what it says in black and white to the evaluation. I think that, as you've noted, maybe it's time to start looking at that and updating it.
I think as you go through the applications, it's fairly obvious what's going on when you go through them.
Okay.
You know, a lot of the information on there is guesswork. That's why we ask for a report after, but even at that, a lot of that's guesswork. You know, if it's a small event and they're not that well organized and they don't get any information about people who came, other than maybe a head count, you don't get much information on them. We've also joined forces with the CBB and the tourism department. We have a software program. You punch in all the characteristics of an event, and it'll spit out a report for you and tell you, according to the parameters, whether that's a successful event or not.
Is that attached to these? I didn't see those attached to any of the applications.
No, I don't think so.
I think what they do is bring it in after they have the event, and we've
Oh.
looked at them, and they are very helpful.
So they're on file with the county attorney?
Well, I've seen them before. Some people have turned them in when their event is over with. I think it's at the county, I think it's down at tourism. Because the CBB
Oh.
bought this program specifically for that.
Oh,
So you
can I
see
get
what
copies of those too?
Great.
Right.
We have three of 2018 events have not submitted yet. Adirondack Sports Complex really does their own, which is very comprehensive. Adirondack Balloon Festival has not submitted yet, and the car show has not submitted yet for their 2019 event.
I just make one more. The more that we delay this, the more we hold up what the events can plan on and where they're going to get their funding. So the more we delay this, we shouldn't delay it too much, because
Right.
these people are planning for I'm sure most of them already have their plans in place, and they're expecting that we're going to step up and help them fund their event. So I'm against delaying this too much.
But there's only 2 that are coming up in the next 60 days. Other than that, they all come up later. I'm just asking for a little more time to review the report, that's all.
They've been out for a while, Rachel.
Well, no, the county attorney reports, I've never seen those.
Should have done all that before.
I just got it Friday.
Christian Dutcher is here from Americade. Their event is a year-round event. Takes them all year to
most
get
of them are
organized for the
planned out,
event.
Okay.
It's not a get up Saturday morning, decide Monday you're going to start the event. They're all like this. Balloon Festival. There's a lot of work involved, especially when you get involved with volunteers and very complex things like Americade, the car show. Claudia?
I would like to say that I think events are very important. I agree with Kevin there. And I feel comfortable with our towns taking their money and using it wisely. I think our county attorney's office and the administrator needs to keep doing a diligent job reviewing all of that information. What you said about all of these events, a lot of them are tried and true. I got this packet of stuff on Friday. As you know, this is my first time on the OCTAX committee, so I did go over almost all of them during the weekend. But the application does talk about how they are supposed to be providing performance reports after the event. And if these have been around for so long, why do I not have those performance reports as part of this packet of material so that I can use that information to analyze their event and fill out the scoring sheet the way that I'm supposed to be doing it per the resolution from 2014. I did the best that I can, and I'm ready to go today. I would like to see those performance reports before we give out the money, but if you're going to force a vote today, I'm ready.
That's what I wanted to hear. Travis?
Thank you.
They're not on here. There are not performance reports that are like unified per the county request.
Well, you're looking at a new application. The report's not part of it. The report is submitted after the event.
I see.
No.
I understand.
The application for the next year's money asks if you have received money in the past, provide your performance report.
Okay. Got it. Travis?
I agree wholeheartedly with what I'm hearing here today. Supervisor Garrett expressing everything should be about event, et cetera. And I would hope that, Supervisor, or rather Administrator Moore, one example that I've been trying to point out for the last several years has been a $35,000 expenditure every year that Queensberry has given. The money, the checks have been cut for fertilizer to put on Jenkins Field, and also for brochures to be produced and mailed to the residents of the town of Queensberry, none of which I think has anything to do with tourism directly. I mean, and when you look at it, the guidance, the legal guidance on this, is very short. I mean, the legislature says that the monies must directly support tourism. I find it hard to believe that fertilizing Jenkins Field or mailing brochures to the residents of Queensberry would meet that definition. So I would hope that Administrator Moore would find that this is maybe one of the glaring problems out there. If he requires any assistance in that, I'd be glad to offer some copies of checks and such that have been cut. This has been last several years.
Thank you. Duly noted. Okay, where are we? Spending plan. Claudia?
Dennis, I'd like to know if there are any other applications that came into the county
Yes.
other than these 20, and where are they?
These 20.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had 19, Kindle Martis, 20.
Yeah.
No, no further applications. We have some requests for OCTAC spending, but they're not event applications. The village has asked for money. So we have that to look at. That's a separate issue from this. This money is allocated in the budget. That's why we're here today, and I'd like to get this out of the way and move on to some of the issues we've talked about. Claudia?
Okay, thank you. So on the spending plan that we apparently put in the budget, the 285,000, that is,
Plus.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking about the county event funding line item.
Okay.
In the what you're asking us to pass today is the county. I mean, basically, we already did this. We already did the 150, the 60, the 60, the 135 for each of the towns in the city, 250 for the civic center, 285 for the events, right? And 550,000 for the CVB.
Right.
So what are you asking us to do today?
We have 19 events here that we've allocated the money for. It is 285 plus, what am I looking for?
Well, it came up to $716,950
Right.
is what they requested.
Right, but we've only budgeted 285,000, and what we have in suggested awards gets to 365,000. So what I'm trying to get at is, can we go over the 285,000 that we've already budgeted?
Yes. It's 285, plus we have a contingency fund that's supposed to be for applications that come in. This is January. So you'll get applications as the year goes on people who dreamed up new events. So they can, but that discretionary, because we have so many projects here, to the 285, we put the discretionary money in there. How much was that? 80,000.
Yeah, but we're talking about this, not the events, okay?
So that's 325,000. How much? 365. Oh, your math's a lot better than mine.
Right.
365. So you got the 285 plus the 80s, 365.
We wait a couple weeks to approve that.
And I handed out my rendition of what we should do, and that's the number we shot at. Claudia?
Okay, so I added up the previous things that were in the budget. That's 1,490,000 plus the 80,000 in contingency gets us to 1,570,000, right? We're talking about money, we're bringing in over $4 million in OCTAX.
Correct.
The tourism department
Sure.
also.
Yeah, was there a question in there?
I think she's saying that we're bringing in $4 million and we're only spending.
No, I know tourism, how much is the tourism department?
250,
250, 2 million.
2,050,000.
400,000,
Yeah, 400, 2,400,000.
That comes out of that.
Thank you.
Easier way of doing it, Claudia.
Yeah. I don't have all the budget stuff in front of me.
Take that number and multiply it by 25%, and that's what you're supposed to spend. Take that number and multiply
Why
by
would we sit on this money? Why would we sit on this?
We don't. To keep,
What? So, we have a proposal for a spending plan. It exceeds the amount of money we have available, the $365. It's what?
It's all in there. It's all in our current budget.
How much?
You're talking, there's different codes. This is just.
This is what we should work on.
What I wanna know.
What that other stuff we can get.
So that's what we're supposed to talk about right now. This agenda, yeah, right? Yeah, for the vote on adopting the spending plan.
Okay.
For two?
All right, we have a resolution for the spending plan on the table. Gene?
Can I ask a question, or I have to make a resolution for it?
No, you can ask a question, Gene.
Can't we just table this spending plan, because there's a couple of things in here which I've complained about for the last 2 or 3 years that I'd really like to discuss, but I think everybody that's here is really looking for the events that we should do first, and then maybe go back to the spending plan. Most of the spending plan is for the towns, I think it has to be discussed, it just can't be, the last 2 years it's been just transferred year after year, but,
Is that a resolution?
hold on.
Gene, Kevin?
The only thing I'll caution my colleague is we did our budget in September, October, basing it on believing that we're going to get the same amount of money as we got last year. So I just caution us, I agree we should look at it, I'm 100% for that. But did you make your money on what was done in 219, or did you figure on more money for 220? No, I only get 45,000, so, you know, it's just like my sales tax, I only get 800,000, Gene, so I based it on the base amount, okay? The base amount is what I received, so before you wanna dip into that, I would just dip it. I would just be cautious, and I agree, let's give the people who came here today, let's see if we can't help them out. Well, the only reason I say that is, as we all see, the mayor wants money, CBD wants money, Civic Center wants money, and we get warned by our treasurer, watch out. I think we're getting carried away, we're giving away money, and especially when we have these events. I mean, I'm happy to see it's up 350,000 over last year, which was the best year we ever had, and now it's 350 higher than that.
You left out the tourism department, they want money.
Mm-hmm.
You're part of it, Jim.
Well, can we do the events without approving the spending plan? If we can't, then I guess we need to adjourn the meeting.
No, we can do that.
Can we do that?
Is that your motion?
I'll make a motion that we work on the spending plan for the events.
So we're gonna table the spending plan, the one we're asked to look at right now.
I want to work on the events. These people came today, so we can, I'll make that motion. We
We'll
work on the
table the
events
resolution.
and hold off on the resolution for the town spending.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Is there discussion?
Oh.
Rachel?
Are you shooting the rubber band at me? So, is there, you wanna look at all the events today, not just the ones that are in immediate need?
The
Looking at all
major
of them.
events.
We're gonna look at all 19.
It's just that you bring up a point about how you budgeted for 2020 based on what you had in 2018 going into 2019, but frankly, and I mean this with all due respect, I would just think that it would have been discussed in 2019. Here we are in 2020 discussing what you want in 2020. So I think it is a good idea to table the OCTAX 2019 spending plan and just look at the county event funding.
Well, that's what
we're doing. Right.
That was the motion.
I'm with you. I'm saying we were asked about doing a approval of the
I
tax
could get
spending
myself in
plan.
trouble. I won't say anymore.
Give me your rubber band.
What do you got motion on the floor?
We have a motion to move on to the events.
Motion,
Okay, we're not moving on.
No.
The
No.
spending plan.
We're
So we're
ignoring
next
it.
on schedule.
Claudia, second.
Okay.
Well, I just wanna, wait. I don't wanna approve what's in front of us right now with my vote. Are we just moving to talk about it?
to do this.
Okay.
We're
To talk about
We're
it.
moving on to discuss the events. We got people here, it's getting late. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, so we're moving on to the events. I assume you've all looked at them, they've been out for a while. I've scribbled in the margin there what
Wait
I...
a second, I got this
think
packet
we-
on Friday.
Not my problem.
Easy, easy, easy. Let's be civil.
Fine.
Mr. Chairman?
You were all emailed that they were available in the office, and
It
when you
came.
didn't pick them up, they re-emailed you.
Yeah, but that was just Tuesday.
I'd like to make some amendments.
All right, Craig, go for it.
Okay.
Don't go too fast.
That's
Would you
right.
rather do 'em one
First,
at a-
I want to say on the first one there, Adirondack Festivals has the most complete application I've ever seen. It is absolutely incredible, and it should be the model that everybody aspires to. They've done an incredible job pulling everything together.
Second.
Going down the line, number 2, I'd like to reduce that to 35,000.
Ooh.
Number 6, I'd like to reduce that to 40,000. Number...
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Slow down.
40,000.
It's only 25.
All right, Craig,
Why
I
don't we do 'em one
I
at a time?
appreciate your effort.
Yeah.
I think it'll be easier if we go line by line.
Right.
So let's start with the Adirondack Festival. And that's Sasha's Wine and Food Festival. He's requested 50.
Do we go around and say our scores? How does it?
And recommended is 35.
Okay. Any discussion? Rachel?
I'm just wondering, just a point of clarification. What is the administrative process? Do we go around and say our scores? Do you tally them up? You ask us to do these sheets?
You've done your scores, you know how you feel about these events, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you've done Adirondack Festival.
I did, but I have them at a score of 54. If I look at the resolution of 238, that tells me that they're scoring 46 plus points of 35 to 50 max, and given the, I had an issue a little bit with the length of the event that was written in by not the event planner, but by, I think, our calculations, and given the 7% growth and everything that was, the attendees of 17,250, I would look at them as the max at the 50,000 based on the resolution of 238 and the information that's in front of me on the application. I'm just wondering how we do it.
Rachel, you're,
Am I wrong?
no, you've done everything right.
Wait, could you say that again?
Rachel, you've done everything right
Thanks,
so
Donna.
far. That's the problem with this OCTAX. Now you have to make a decision. We gave them 40 in 2019, they've asked for 50. If you give them 50, someplace down this list of things here, you're gonna have to cut back the money. We only have the 365. So you need to make sure that all of your things come to 365. We're not going over it.
And not to belabor this, but that's why I had the questions about the county spending plan, because if it's not approved in the fashion that it was, then you would have additional funds for these countywide events
No.
that scored high.
No, it's 365, it's not budgeted.
Okay.
Not changing. Claudia?
I just want to make it absolutely clear, you're telling us that we can't change it, however, where's my little sheet that I wrote this down? We have revenue from last year of $4,728,000, and right now I'm looking at us spending $3,970,000. So there is money sitting there, almost $1 million.
No.
I understand wanting to keep money so that we can pay our expenses, but if people want to add 5, 10,000, 20,000,
You cannot
the
do that,
money
Claudia.
is sitting there. You don't tell me we can't do it. We are a
cannot do that.
legislative body. We can do
You're not
this
doing
if
it
we
while I'm
want to.
chairman. We have a 5-year spending plan, we're running out of money. Period, end of conversation.
Then we should be cutting down
Can't
all of them.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, that's what we're here for. We got $365,000, end of conversation, you need to make all these add up to 365. Hopefully we can do it together. Mike, make it quick. This is your last question.
Quickly, just want to say something positive about the Adirondack Festivals. You mentioned before that these events are weather dependent. I've been there in the rain, and there's still people walking around. So I just wanted to add that for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay,
Well, just a financial point. The budget, the 2020 expense budget is higher than the revenue budget. We already have over a $500,000 deficit built into this budget. You have to add OCTAX expenses plus tourism expenses. We're budgeting in 2020 to spend more than we get in revenue.
Because there's reserve.
Correct.
that we're trying to spend down.
That's right.
But that's a
It's final.
short term. You're gonna be in trouble in a hurry if we keep that up. Claudia?
I think this application was great, and if we are not going to go over, I am still going to have to ask for this one to be lowered. There are others that are good events as well. Hers is at 7,000 attendees, and based on my scoring, I have others that are higher that I think need more money. So if we cannot move on the money total, then I think we need to bring this down to 30,000.
Craig's offered the same argument at 35. Gene?
Can I just make one more comment, and then I'm not going to open
Absolutely.
my mouth for the rest of the night? When we started this, I've been on this OCTAX from the beginning. If you go back and look at some of the resolutions that were made, events were supposed to be funded for roughly 3 years, at whatever was necessary to keep them going. After 3 years, they were supposed to start declining, because they should be established, and they should be bringing in enough people to make enough money to establish themselves. But each year, I look at this every year, somebody wants 10, they ask for 15, and then we try to knock it down to 10, and everybody's happy. But it's getting to a point, some of these here, if you start looking at the 40,000 ones, and I'm nothing against either one of them, we got Americaid, which is a cap of 50,000, that's the most we can give anybody, that's also on the resolution. And you look at what Americaid brings in 1 week compared to what some of these others, and they're asking for just about as much. So, I mean, I think we really, after this meeting, we should have a workshop to start looking for next year, refining some of this stuff, so we don't have to go through this, all these people don't have to sit here for hours upon end while we sit here and debate with new people that come on the board that need to know, and, so
Good idea.
that's my only comment.
Okay, we're on Adirondack Festival. We got 30, 35.
Yep, but I never win.
Anybody else?
I'd vote for the high end, 35.
35? The second to the 35? Edna?
Yep. That's a good job.
Do we vote individually on each one of these?
We're gonna
or at
vote.
the
Yes,
end?
we do. We're gonna do it right now, Rachel. We have 35 on the table.
Okay, but according to the resolution, they have an opportunity to make a presentation. I heard, Lisa told me we're not doing that anymore for all these.
She's here.
That's not happening.
I know she's here.
No, I know, but I mean, you can't just, that's great they're here, but there's other people that applied if they didn't. I'm just saying
Do you
the
have a question for
resolution-
Sasha?
No, I have a question for you. The resolution says, applicants wishing to make a presentation will speak in alphabetical order starting with letter Z. Is that occurring?
Sasha, you have something you wanna say?
Yes, and thank you for your time, and I'll keep it short because I know that you didn't want to have presentations today. My report is very thorough, and I do take it very seriously. We are in a fortunate position where we sell tickets, so we have a lot of attendee data, which makes it a little bit easier for us to analyze and report on that information. One thing I'm very confident about is that the county's 100, 200 evaluation of overnighters versus day trippers is highly inaccurate, especially compared to our particular attendees who are more affluent and have a higher spending power, which is what I reflect in my report, which is why I show in my report the difference between what my attendees say they're spending and what the county or the TVB's kind of calculator says that's spent, because we do surveys that have high responses and know that information. What I would say about kind of the general why do we need money year after year comment, just from an event planner's perspective, and I think Christian would agree with me on this. It is, like you said, a year-round job. Like all of you, we have every year increases in staff costs, increases in our general rentals and things like that we have to do year after year, so you see that. Also, I'm not sitting on my laurels. Like, I want to grow this thing, and that's my goal every single year. And you know, I have another new hire this year. My goal next year is to grow it even more. And I don't just want to throw an event that's the same thing year after year. That's not what I'm trying to do. And what I will say that's very hard is I feel like in the community we see kind of a presumption that we're going to continue to provide all these people coming to the towns and the villages, etc. In that it's like presumed and we don't need anybody's help. And every single year it gets harder and harder and harder to raise sponsorship dollars from local businesses and community. And that is a very, very, very tough challenge, but it should be getting easier. I have all this data to show that we're bringing people to the area that are spending money, and instead I feel like I get the opposite. So I just would like you to consider that.
Thank you, Sasha. Anybody have any questions for Sasha? Claudia?
Sorry, your application was very good. I'm sure I can find it in here. Are you going to the village for tax money from them or the town?
My understanding is that being a countywide event, that we are not to do that. That was my understanding last year. I would if I felt that I needed to. You know, the 30, if I was awarded 35, that would put a concern on my budget, and I would need to ask my question.
Thank you. Ready for the question? We got 35 on the table. Dan?
Yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Edna?
Yes.
Rachel? Yes or no?
Can we just go by the scoring sheet and the rules of the scoring sheet? I'm a no because based on the scoring sheet.
No. Jean?
Okay, great.
Yes.
Claudia?
No.
Craig?
Yes.
All right, it's carried.
But then, there again, she can go to the town or village and seek other funding, correct, Dennis?
Correct.
I mean,
So they can now.
oh, yes. Yeah, there's no written rules that she couldn't.
It's coming really from the.
All right. Hot air balloon.
35,000.
Yeah, second.
Anybody else? Any comments? Well, Mike, you have something to say there before your head blows up?
Thank you for recognizing that, Dennis. I'm confused because now we're taking a countywide event and we're allowing them to go back to the town or village. We have no idea how much money we're investing in that event.
Sure you don't.
As county occupancy tax.
Sure you
It
don't.
makes sense to do it here and reduce where they're getting it from the other source. And
It's,
these are big countywide events.
it's still documented. We're not going to zip this up. We do that. I do that all the time. I help Americade out when they need stuff above and beyond the 50,000. Gene's done it.
I do. I
Okay.
help my community.
So we got the Balloon Festival 35. Any conversation?
Are they?
Craig, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Claudia?
Yes.
Gene?
I'll say yes, but I don't think it should stay at 4, but I'll say yes.
Rachel?
Try to cut down on some of these things.
Are they here?
It's us.
What?
I mean,
She-
essentially us.
the representative.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
you want a
Are you asking
representative?
if the representative for the...
Well, yeah, I'm just, again, going back off the resolutions that have not been amended, that are in black and white, trying to play by the rules here. You know, it pains me to vote no on these things, Dennis. It's just, it's not, there's no level of continuity or standardized scoring on it.
You have everything you need to make a decision.
I
Rachel.
don't, Dennis, respectfully, I do not have everything I need to make a good informed decision.
Gene?
Sometimes, and I'm not debating it, sometimes you can't make that decision by dollars and cents. Now,
Agreed.
wait a minute, this balloon festival was the largest I've ever seen, and I parked cars there, and Mr. McGowan and I, they closed the gate at 5 o'clock because we couldn't get any more cars in. And people were still walking at 7 o'clock to it. So, this event, we know we can't count every car, we can't count every person, but we
Yeah.
know it brings in a lot of people.
I'm not disagreeing, I volunteered for 4 years doing that. What I'm saying is, you know, based on the information that's in front of me, they rate in the scoring system for 35 to 50,000 max based on 46 plus points.
Okay.
All I'm doing is asking for the documentation you guys are suggesting.
So,
35,000.
so it's at 35, if you wanna make it 40, you know, we can make it 40.
I
That's
just
the
think you
debate
gotta
we need.
go through the points on it. They asked for 40, they qualify at 46 plus. So I get what Dennis is saying, there's only a certain amount of money, but are you gonna go back and look at the end of this and readjust
We will go back at the end.
today?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna settle this today.
Yeah.
We may be
Oh.
eating pizza for lunch, but we're gonna settle it.
'Cause if
So
you
yes or no,
start
Rachel?
to give everybody, you won't have enough when you get
So what
to
are
the
you
vote.
asking? You're asking for 35 right now?
Correct.
And we're gonna go
Motion-
back, we're gonna renegotiate these at the end?
Well, if we need to.
You're fine.
It most depends on what's left.
Yes or no?
No, I think they should get 40.
Okay, and that's a no. Edna?
Yes.
Kevin?
I was a yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Next. Adirondack Sports Complex. Asked for 40. That's another great application, by the way.
That is, always has been too.
Yep.
And I see suggested awards was 35,000, I would, sustain that at 35,000.
Anybody else?
Based on the scoring, I would say they asked for 40. Based on the resolution and the scoring, they should get the 40. There are multiple events, and as Kevin pointed out, this is all about events based on our current legislation.
Okay. Claudia?
I would support that. They're bringing in 13,000 people based on this one application.
Anybody else? 35 or 40?
You make
40.
a motion at 40?
I make a motion we follow the resolution and scoring guidelines.
40,000.
All right, we're gonna go 40,000. Rachel?
Oh, look at this, yeah,
Wow,
I know,
I'm impressed.
check it out.
Edna?
I'll say yes on that one.
Kevin?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Craig?
Yeah, it's
But-
a great event, but I'm capping at 35, as you can tell, thanks.
Yep. Okay. Claudia?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Okay. Next one is Omni Rods and Customs Car Show. 25,000.
25,000.
Anybody else? Claudia?
Can we discuss the mayor's comments about this event not coming back?
Well, I think the chamber's ready to string them up.
Oh, okay.
Let me try to explain where the mayor is. And I know how it came out in the paper. This event is so successful that it's impossible to provide emergency services to these people. It's a fact. You can't get through the village. Now, they've done several things. They have cars stationed above and below the village. There's a lot of effort there. The sheriff's department has been wonderful, trying to keep things under control. I don't share the mayor's opinion. The old tourism adage, if there's a traffic jam, that's a good thing. And that's basically what this is. It's a great thing. It's a great event. People come year after year after year after year. So, 25. Anybody got anything else?
I would say for such a good event, it would be great to have more complete economic data on it.
For 2009.
Well, it's not like this is only the second time.
Well, if you want some data on it, come up on the weekend. Take a walk around town. All right, let's do the 25. Greg?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Rachel?
Is it happening?
Yeah.
Is the event going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then yeah,
Edna?
The merchants that
Kevin?
bill us, so we just have it.
Yes. Okay, next, Americade. Rachel?
May I just clarify once again? We're talking about the scoring, the data, the complete evaluations, consistency in every application, perhaps a uniformed way of applying. I know these are all things Dennis are excited to fix this year, but it seems like every year we talk about wanting to fix it, and then every year we get into this situation where we're talking about it again. And I have full faith that you're grabbing this and we're going to fix it this year. But I have a hard time, I think I'm going to struggle voting at the full board on all of this with not having complete data, as Craig mentioned, on so many of these events. I mean, I'm voting based on our scoring system and taking the information at face value, period. But I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to make decisions about these funds that are, I mean, our community works so hard to raise them, collect them, distribute them in a way to have a return on them.
I think you're over-worrying it, Rachel. Kevin?
The only thing I would suggest is, in order to try to work on that, maybe we could ask tourism to look at the Smith Travel Report and try to go back and look at those weeks and see if the room nights were up to those weeks, you know, for the people who report.
Yeah, some of those
And,
reports are on.
You know, right, and then help us, you know, they could just take a look, and then you also,
Kevin?
I don't know how they break out, yeah, I know they're on there for that one, but I mean,
Not all.
for some of the other ones, they weren't there, maybe we could go, you know, if you had somebody could analyze a little bit of the data. Yeah, and that would be helpful, that would that would be a start.
Or that other report from the CDD.
I recommend for this, $40,000. It's one of the more incomplete applications. There is no data. I do not even see an income an expense that all the other applications have, unless I'm missing it in here. I'd like to cap it at $40,000.
Anybody else got anything?
Can you?
American.
I'd like to
Rachel?
leave it at the 50.
Thank you, Dean. Rachel?
Is there a way to combine it with that block party? Because it looks like they're both for the same, you know, event during that week, and then that way, you know, we aren't kind of duplicating that and leave it at the 50, but then just take it out of the, you know, cross out number 12? Because it's really the same week and everything, right?
Leave it at the max?
Yeah, but take out 12.
Not fundable.
Right. And I think I read in the paper too that the town's helping support that. So that would be one of the town things.
A few years ago, I missed this meeting, and they cut them back to 45,000. I don't think anybody's listening to me.
I just said keep it at the 50, but just don't.
No,
add
you
another event.
now you reduce. Here's the deal.
No, I'm not.
So we give him 50,000. He generates $3 or $4 million in a week. $3 or $4 million in a week, and you're tinkering around with $5,000. Are you serious?
We're not there yet.
$50,000
I
is
don't know
for.
why you're asking for a suggestion if you're not open to the conversation regarding it. I'm just.
Well, you had your conversation. Now I'm having mine.
Well, that's true. You're the guy in charge. Go ahead.
Easy, Chairman.
Did I listen to you?
Best be stated.
So $50,000 is for Americade. One of the problems that Americade is having is an age-sensitive event, and they're aging out. The people that ride these motorcycles are aging out. They're not riding anymore. And the younger people are not stepping up to fill the gap. They have other interests. So in order to keep this thing going, the Dutchers have expanded this event. They have an event that starts in Luzerne. It's for dirt bikes. They come over the mountain, see the lake. It's a great event. It's really helped a lot. They have great attendance. It's doubled or tripled since they started it. This is part of it. They have a block party, a party of appreciation for all the attendees. I've been to it. It's just a great event. It was really good on Main Street, and they moved it a couple of times. But it's in addition to Americade, trying to keep the Americaders here. Claudia?
I will agree with Craig that there's not as much information in this application as I would like to see, but I am thoroughly sure that they have any other data that we want. I'm sure they have a budget. And they talk about their marketing plan reaching a national and international market, and to me that's really important. And also, their attachment A, which talks about 65% of their people are coming from outside the state. Outside the state, not just the region.
Right.
So I think that's important as well. I'd
Thank you.
support keeping them at 50.
Thank you, Claudia. Dan?
In addition to the obvious tangible benefits that you can see on spreadsheets and all that stuff, there's also a benefit from getting people from all over the country, the world, wherever, here, and once they're familiar with Lake George and the beauty of it and all the things to do, maybe they come back. So that's what I would call an intangible benefit. So when you look at this, I think you need to broaden your scope, if you will, and consider more than just the single event.
Great. Anybody else?
Follow up.
Greg?
Thank you. You're right, Chairman. This is one of the biggest events that happens in the area. Its economic input is undoubtedly one of the biggest for a single event, and it's huge. We all agree that without it we'd be lost. The lack of information that comes through to this committee for us to base decisions is pretty poor for such an event that has been going on for such a long time. I've brought this up in other meetings where you have smaller events that have really crunched numbers, provided them to this committee so that when we make a decision, it's not just off of our cuff, but that there are numbers there as well. One thing that was brought up a little earlier in the meeting was about need. And when there's, originally when Occupancy got started, it was to help fund, get things started, and then eventually wean back. And on this, we have no idea of need on this. Even on Adirondack Custom Rods, you see that there was really no need for occupancy tax when you look directly at it. But we support that. Just don't really have good financial information on the actual event and its cost, and if it needs a $50,000 infusion. Plus, you know, village and town.
Mr. Conover?
I just would like to add, Americade's at a time of the year where for Americade should can enough and not hit it. In Lake George and Bolton, so let's be clear that this is an event at a time of the year when it's really a major event.
Thank you. Anybody else? So what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, we have a motion for 40 or a motion for 50?
We don't have neither one yet.
Well, I'll move that we continue at 50 and hopefully that we can get the more data information for next year's application or maybe even later on.
Okay. Gene? Okay. Rachel, start us off. Yay or nay?
Yes.
Yes. Edna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Craig?
No.
Claudia?
Well, I would say to the application thing, I mean, you can hardly blame them because it's not like we've always gone through these in the past and really dug through the information as a committee. I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. Gene?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get the message, Christian? Okay. Thank you.
We have friendly competition.
Lake George Winter Carnival.
No.
No.
Basketball.
Don't skip the basketball tournament, please.
Oh, did I skip the basketball? Greater Glens Falls. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
20,000.
Anybody else?
I'd
Rachel?
prefer to keep it at 25.
Again, I'm really trying to stay to our resolution and the law, and I'd like to see the evaluation, the applications, and I'm not going to say it with every single vote, completely revised and that data be there to make good informed decisions. But based on what I've been told, all this is about is events. I'm reading the law. I'm very familiar with it over the prior 4 years on the board. So I'm going with my scores, and I would say based on the number of nights they bring in and the event that they have, they qualify for the maximum amount that they're asking for. I know I'm going to break us by the end of it, but it needs to be just on events, then yes.
So you're saying 25?
I'm saying 25.
Anybody else?
I am.
25?
Yeah, and I've worked it I've worked it since 1998, and, you know, it does bring a lot of people in the
Sure
area, and
does.
they like coming back. It's just more than
And it's in
the
the
few
winter.
days in March.
I love basketball. So we're at 25. Dan?
Yes.
Yes? Kevin?
Yes.
Edna?
Yes.
Rachel?
I think I said yes, no? Yeah?
Yeah.
Think
Do
I'm
you
okay.
want me to tell you what to say?
Oh, goodness, no.
I think so. Jean?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
Okay. Next. Lake George Winter Carnival.
Off-season event. I go with the request of 30. It's an off-season event. It does bring a lot of people into the area. Certainly is and I think it's run by mostly volunteers, if
It
I'm
is.
not mistaken.
It is.
The length of it covers a lot of weekends.
So you're going with the suggestion of 30?
I'll go with the suggestion by the chairman at 30.
That was unnecessary and uncalled for, Kevin.
Am I out of order?
Claudia?
I think we should bring it down to 25,000.
Anybody else? Rachel?
I read over the budget. I have like 1,000 questions about the budget that was submitted and the requests under each line item, and what we're actually funding out of those line items. I'm not publicly going to go through what all those concerns were, take your time up with that, but I'm taking the information at face value. I really hope that these approvals are contingent, that moving forward we are not doing this at face value anymore, that we are going to have some evidence to support those documents.
But I do believe if they submit something that's not actual and provable, when it submits the report, it'll get kicked back, correct?
Correct.
This is not a town event, though. This is a county event. So the county attorney's office isn't reviewing these.
Thought they were.
What'd she say?
Lisa reviews each one of these when they come in.
Yeah. She follows up on
But
them.
I'm saying about the economic impact, you know, the
Right.
number, I'm seeing a survey that goes out, which I don't really, I mean, with all due respect to the mayor and to the lake and to you, Dennis, common sense tells me that that brings in people, but based on the evidence that's in front of us, it doesn't support the numbers that are on the overall scoring sheet. But if I go with the numbers on the scoring sheet that have been provided by the county and provided by the event, taking it at face value, then again, they should get the maximum. They should be at the maximum amount because their rating, their points is that they're at a 52. In my opinion, I don't know anyone else's scores because no one's sharing them with me. But I get that. So, I mean, if it's about events and we're looking at the score numbers and you're going by the resolution and the law,
So what are you recommending?
I'd have to be fair in the same way I was to all these other events that are providing the data that supports the scoring, that supports the resolution, would be the maximum of a 45, even though I really disagree with the budget.
40,500, you're saying, or
Yeah,
45,000?
well, that's what they asked for, right?
40,000.
40,500.
Craig?
They get supplemental from town and village as well. I don't see.
Not since they came down here. Not that they couldn't or wouldn't. If they have some emergency come up and they need some additional money, we'd consider it, but no. Claudia?
I just want to go back to my suggestion of 25,000 was based looking at their budget. That's about their media costs, their advertising costs for print media, and I
Okay.
think they also said TV and social media. So focusing on trying to get us out there, marketing to people not just here, because the whole point is to bring people from outside the region. That's why I would drop them down 5,000,
So what are you suggesting?
25,000.
25? Okay, we got 40,500 and 25,000.
45,000.
She
Yeah.
went based on the scoring.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
What's the pleasure?
Could I compromise and say, let's give them the same we gave them last year, 35?
Okay.
let's vote. You got a lot of numbers out there, son. So
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with 30.
Just re-up the number.
Okay. Craig's a yes. Claudia?
25.
Okay. Jean?
Well, let's stick with 35. What was gonna be each one yes or no for the month?
He can't get consensus.
Well,
what we make.
it, try to read off each number and
He threw a number out there, we're gonna vote
All
on
right,
it.
so he started at 30.
Yep.
What's your on the 30?
Just show your hand.
Just show your hand on the 30.
I'm a
Anybody
no.
want 30?
He's a no.
I'm a no.
All right, so anybody else want a yes? Okay, so we lost. Go to the next one. 35.
35.
No, you should get
We
five.
can't
But
go
what'd you
up.
have?
We can't go
What'd you
up.
have? I'm sorry.
No, no. 25. Can I put out 25?
25. Anybody else? 25. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Try again.
What's the next one, 35?
35.
Okay.
35. Anybody else? 35. Edna?
I'll go 35.
Kevin? Dan? Excellent. Simpson.
Are we voting on the 35?
We just did.
That was your vote. Well, when do I get to put my no vote on the record then?
You can, say no.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah, you did 3 times already.
No, I didn't, okay? We didn't,
Let the
whatever.
record
You
show
know,
that
this
Rachel
process
said
is-
no.
This is a little ludicrous.
Rachel, no, Seaver said no.
Hey, I
The
said yes
next
a
one,
whole
I
bunch of
totally
times.
disagree with.
Am I- All I'm asking is that if we don't like the rules, shouldn't we be collectively trying to change the legislation and the guidelines? And until it's changed, following the rules.
Absolutely.
So you're
Yep.
against it.
I'm with you, Rachel. I agree.
We will.
The next one is the North Creek Business Alliance. This is a 3-year commitment that we made.
I'll move it at the same.
What?
No discussion, it's already committed.
Well, 5, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody object?
What do you mean? I object. What, is that for an event?
No.
That's the bus.
Well, time out. This has all been.
We
told
already
this is
passed
for
it.
events.
Didn't we already pass it?
The North Creek Alliance came to the Octax Committee last year. They have 2 buses they shuttle people back and forth to the mountain with. They were both done in. So they went out and they found buses to replace them, and they came and asked for money, and we gave them
3 years.
$12,500 for 3 years.
So this is said and done.
We did-
Yeah,
Why is it on my list?
This is
Okay.
second.
The board already passed this resolution.
It's on your list, so you'll know what's going on, Rachel, when the paper calls you.
What's
Mr.
that?
Chairman, can I make
Oh, they
a
don't
comment
call.
about
Yes,
that?
Craig.
Because there was questions that this is a bus and that's not an event, but, occupancy tax money does get spent for infrastructure
No, wait.
on things. Am I
Correct.
On that, so on things that able and invest, tourism, there is, money available for that. So it was mentioned earlier that these are all, occupancy tax money is just for events. We need to look more broadly and see what supports tourism and there are things that can directly be attributed for infrastructure to bring them in. That helps in the end.
I just
Thank
will
you.
note, I will note that I believe that last weekend they had so many skiers at the mountain, they had to actually shut down and not allow any more people up the mountain, so they did have a good,
Traffic was backed up all the way down to Weavertown.
so, I mean, if this helps them get people up on the mountain, I'm all for it. They need to live.
Apparently, they need more buses.
Well, easy.
All right, Warren County Safe and Quality Sexy Biking Organization. Right.
I see this is for infrastructure and such, and $5,000. The ask was $20,000, the recommended is $5,000. I'd say stick with the recommended for building out that infrastructure.
So you're staying with the 5?
I'll second.
Okay.
I agree with that. I have a question.
So, missed questions? Yes?
Mr. Chairman, I can't find where it talks about infrastructure in the law, and again, I refer to the resolution and the law. and I'm supportive of the applications that have an event attached to them until such time that we change the law and change the scoring system. Can someone provide me with how?
The book for the resolutions pertaining to OCTAC is about 3 inches thick.
I'm,
And in there is one about infrastructure. Fred Monroe did the first one.
The
He
book?
lit up downtown Chestertown. Now they have 2 restaurants open year
where's the
round.
book? Where's the book? I mean, I was on here for 4 years. I've never seen that book. I've asked for the legislation behind occupancy tax.
Did you ask Lisa?
Yeah.
Notebook they handed out when they passed it in 2004.
You gotta be-
I found that.
Lisa has a copy of it, and you gotta be specific.
Can I have an electronic version of the book, please? Can
Oh
you
my
scan
God.
it? You can't scan the book?
She's got it in her office. If you wanna come in and look at it, you
No,
come
I
in.
mean, that's important, though. We can't have
Come
an
aboard.
intern
Come into
scan-
her office and
scan
look at it.
Is your question though about infrastructure?
Yeah, I don't
Because I
see
think
where
they're
the
doing
law says.
brochures.
They're doing
I think it's
brochures and
mostly
maps.
brochures.
Right.
All that stuff.
I think
That
brochures.
says on here that you can do,
You can do brochures.
Brochures, maps.
but the infrastructure,
That should go through Glens Falls.
This says promotion
like, I agree,
transportation.
fertilizer, stuff like, I don't get that.
Who puts fertilizer? Where, on here?
No.
No, you have a CUSAC, you have promotional materials.
But it's not an event. Whatever.
All right.
I'm sticking to the event.
Move on.
Chairman, I would recommend that Lisa
Lunch?
provide eligible activity lists, all the supervisors that are attached to all of our contracts.
Thank you. Duly noted, even though you're just a supervisor.
Dennis, before we move off that one, I'm coming.
Excuse me?
On our sexy biking.
Yeah. Yes.
This is a body of the county, and they do a lot of really good work, and they are bringing in a whole new tourism industry sector. So I would support giving them the $20,000 that they've asked for. They're developing really cool stuff and really cool trails across the county, and they are working together with the municipalities. So I'm sure.
Gina, would you like to comment?
So several of us in this room have been to the bicyclist meetings, business meetings, we've gone and learned about what that organization has done, and with the new trails that the governor has built, I mean, the connections so that, because they're going up to on the east side of the lake or through Fort Ann, the connections to make sure that we get those bicyclists here more in time has been up to this organization. They've done a great job. I mean, even with the towns, buying French Mountain and all of that to connect the trails, it's a huge deal for us. And the biggest thing that they need is the signage, so that signage then steers people to go and spend money, which we would see that money come about in sales tax more so than occupancy tax. Just throw that out there because I know that is a big push by that organization.
Rachel?
So, could we look at taking it out of the appropriate pot of money then versus the occupancy tax if it's crucial? It's been stated, Claudia, since they're a division of the county, why's it gotta come out of occupancy?
It doesn't have, we could give them more money elsewhere. I'm fine with that too.
I'm just saying, I don't know if it qualifies. I'm sticking with my event.
Yeah. So where?
We'll
You
take
guys
the
are
bus-
right in the budget. Thank you, I'm back.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
I would give them the 5,000 for promotions, and that's what they're using it for. And then, I thought they were working with the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation, do some of the other stuff.
They're doing a lot.
I don't know if they're
They've been
getting money from
helping us with our.
Well, they're helping them do some of the stuff. I'd say leave it at 5.
That's what I would say too, leave it at 5.
And then if we need to find some more.
Dan?
Yeah.
All right, it's 5.
Opposed? I usually give them 20 out of the right pot of money.
I'll give them 15.
Warrensburg Bike Rally.
I recommend 5,000.
Wrong answer. Rachel?
I recommend, based on my scoring sheet and based on the law, the full amount that they're asking for, given the number of nights and the connection, that I 40, again, be fair, go off the rules. $40,700. Zero.
I'm not gonna go for that,
Gene?
I'd like to stick with 10. I don't believe nothing is but I'd like to stick at 10, and give them a little work, keep growing. They're growing every year.
I go along with Gene on that.
I'm just gonna say one thing here. Americade is our event that week. We funded Americade. Now we are funding a competitive motorcycle rally, which I would think would be synonymous with my doing a moon glow during Balloon Festival in Lake George. I don't think that would go over very well, and this doesn't go over well with me. He's got a competitive event. He's reaping a benefit from all the hard work that Americade does getting people here. And if people didn't come to Americade, I'm not sure they would come up here just to go to Warrensburg and sleep out in the field.
I take offense to that comment, Dennis. They don't go to Warrensburg to sleep in a field. They go to Warrensburg, and it could be entirely different, but the people who go to Warrensburg are the people who came for Americade for a choice. So, you know, I don't really like your comments. I think they're off base.
I agree with you, Kevin, and I'm going to tell you I'm
Zeroing it
sorry.
out is not correct. I am concerned about this one. I watched this one, but this thing has been in place since 2006. It came in long before it. They moved to the fairgrounds. It's generating money. It's putting money back into Warren County because they're paying to use the fairgrounds to host this event up there. So I do believe, you know, I wouldn't go crazy with it. I believe they should get some money, but I just don't like the comments. I don't make comments about the village. I don't make comments about the town on any of the events. Whether I agree, I support all your events, so I just don't think it's right what you said. I think they should get something. 10,000 works. I support this event from out of my actually tax funds, my 40,500. I do support Ed also, but you know, we try to keep a tight rein on that. I will also mention that when this event came in, the town of Warrensburg is shut out by Americade. There's no rides that go through our town, and they shun our community because of this other event at the Warren County Fairgrounds, which he pays to use the fairgrounds.
Kevin, firstly, I apologize profusely for my comment.
I understand where you're coming from.
It was unnecessary and uncalled for.
Okay.
I hear you.
And I hear you too, and I heard what you said about piggybacking on to the major event. I get that.
Okay. Brad?
Yes, being a motorcycle rider myself, I have to say I do enjoy the Barricade and the bikes, and also I've made over the years, you know, Warrensburg. I wouldn't call it piggyback. Piggyback, I think it's an expanding organization, and you know, it's all part of how we've all grown our businesses with a little competition that I think they work off each other, and I think it's beneficial. I also go to Laconia, and when I go to Laconia is just not in Laconia. I mean, I've had my feet in the ocean, you know, having seafood. I mean, it's events that are all over. So I think it draws more people in, and the wider it spread out. You do an excellent job of bringing in, you're the hub, you know. So I kind of agree with Kevin. I don't. I think it's a good event. And like I said, it works off of the main hub of Barricade, and you know, it's all part of competition, and you know, I'm sure, you know, they're getting along better, but I see kind of the same people, but also I see more different people at the two different events. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in the writing.
You did. Well, Mike?
Thanks. I just want to expand on what Supervisor McGowan said. That's really an example of organic growth. And that's one of the easiest things we have to be able to do and what we should be focusing on. So I'm in full support of trying to do more things like this.
Claudia?
And expanding beyond. It's organic, and that's a big thing.
Okay.
Thanks. that's all fine, but if they're organically growing, why do we need to give them money to market the event? I mean, that marketing, we just gave $50,000 to Americade to market internationally. I understand I would give them some money, like $5,000.
Dan?
I agree.
Edna? Did you have-
I'm in favor of 10.
Rachel?
Rate of 52 on my score sheet. So again, you know, I've got to go by the scores, but, so I would be, give me 1 second to say that. I would be a no on what's out here, not because I don't support it, but because I think based on the criteria, again, we need to uniformly apply it. Wasn't there a moon glow at some point in time in Lake George? Am I old enough to remember that?
They didn't have one there last year.
But I mean, historically, that was very nice. I liked the way we all worked together for
Yeah.
county-wide events. I mean, not to, you know. poke
Anybody else? What are we looking at here?
I'm
What's
for
the consent?
10.
Gene?
I
Craig?
said 5, but I'll go with the 10.
Oh, boy. All right.
Did we get that on
Craig,
record?
did you?
5.
5?
Good, again, it's an incomplete application, doesn't provide a lot of information. Things. And I see that the town last year gave $8,584.17.
Tax and dealer prep. How many are interested in 5? Just show you, raise your hands. 3. How many are interested in 10? So I'm the deciding vote.
Yeah. Yes, you are. You're the hammer down.
Whoa, if I'm voting for the max amount, then based on a 5 or a 10, then it should gear more, so my vote should lean towards 10 versus lean towards 5. So, right?
Yep. All right.
So you're a 10.
You're a 10. We always knew that, Rachel.
What?
I said we always knew that.
Oh, that was nice. Are we talking about a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, yeah.
Making sure.
1 to 100.
Thanks.
Careful.
Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce.
Again, this is, you know, these folks are not for profit. The chamber, they put on this event, they fill a lot of rooms. They do bring 50 to 75 people in for the 2 days, or actually 3 days. They come in on Thursday. So, I can go with the 25. I wish we'd do the 28,250, but I'm for the 25,000 because I do know how hard they work on it, and you know, nobody's on the staff. Well, they do have their executive director, but they do put a lot of effort in, and they have collected a lot of data for us. They have the zip codes and all that information.
Anybody else? Claudia?
And their October events, which I think is important.
There were points for that.
And there were points for that.
Just
Anybody
about
else?
square.
Gene? 25.
No, wait. I thought Kevin's 28,250.
That's what they asked for.
That's what they
I
asked
can
for.
live with 25. I can make it up.
Oh my goodness, I'm still a no then, because I think based on the scoring sheet and the
Well,
rules
then I'll
and the
change it. I'll
resolutions
change it
before
to-
the board,
I'll-
they're at a maximum.
I don't want to be at odds with you. 28,250. I'll make it 28,250.
Now, you realize when we get down to the bottom,
Yeah.
We're gonna cut.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a no on anything that isn't an event based on everything we've talked about.
Okay.
so which is it?
28,250. I just want to keep Rachel.
Craig?
in my sights.
It's
Yeah, 25,000 as recommended.
Claudia?
Well, I
That
wasn't
brings
paying
us out
attention.
to
I'll go with the
28,250.
28,250.
Gene?
There you go.
I hate to battle my best friend here, but I think they do a good job. And I go by my business. Every room in my place is full for 3 days that weekend. And I do well, so, not because I do well, I'm voting, but I'll go with the 2850. We might have to cut it later, but I'll go with 28.
Rachel?
I'm filtering all my thoughts at the moment. Eugene, anyway, I think it's based on the scoring should be the full amount, which is the 28,250.
Okay.
Edna?
I'll go with the 28,250.
Kevin?
28,250.
Dan?
25.
All right. 28,250.
Okay.
Americade Block Party.
So can we have a subtotal?
That
Don't
doesn't
have a
matter.
car, it's
That
not-
doesn't matter.
$300,750.
How much?
What?
$300,750.
Wait a minute, that 282, 500.
The subtotal. It's 300.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
what we've actually approved.
We've gone
So we're
over-
over,
we've
but
gone
we gotta
over.
finish this off.
Sure.
We're under right now.
Craig, then we'll come back. Barricade block party. Rachel?
I'm sorry, could you answer for me, suggested awards, who's making those numbers up? Who
The
gives up?
the request comes off the
I
application.
see the requested, I'm asking who makes the suggested on my form?
The chairman had looked
Is
at it.
that from you?
I believe the chairman, didn't you look at some of the
Well,
minutes?
Lisa and I worked on it, and then I revised it
Chair.
in the margin.
The chair had looked
Oh,
at
I
it.
just, it doesn't tell me who's
Lisa and I
doing it.
worked on it.
Okay.
It was too much. I went back and I
Lisa and Doug.
lowered them until I got it to balance out.
I'm just asking, I'm not judging.
Nope.
Well, I'm judging, but
All
I'm
right.
asking. Okay, Americade, I'll say again, if you're going off the rules of the legislation and the scoring sheet, they should get the max amount of the 10,000.
Anybody else?
It's an event.
I'd say the 5,000.
Greg?
Something that the town would be willing to pick up?
Well, we're pretty strapped, but we definitely consider it. We're tapped out. We are here, and I have some things that
These are for county.
need some money, so.
I'll take that as.
Based on the law, for county law.
So you're at what?
I was thinking 0.
Nice guy.
You know, a bigger event. We gave them 50. So, there's my 10.
So where are we here?
Let's compromise at 5.
5?
No, I think they should get 10.
Let's vote on the 5. Rachel?
No. I think,
You wanna give a reason, or just?
I just
go
told you,
no?
I think they should have the 10. Oh, yes, or you're asking me to put on the record, yes. I think that based on the scoring sheet and on the resolution that's currently before us that has not yet been changed, that they qualify at a high level of points that would give them the max amount that they're asking for of 10,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jean?
5.
Claudia?
5.
Craig?
5.
Dan?
5.
Kevin?
I'll go with 5.
Ed?
5.
Okay.
Good publish.
Alright, collection.
I know Rachel's gonna disagree with me, but this is, something that brings in 28,000 attendees through the year. And while it has a permanent collection, they also have exhibits that are constantly rotating, and those are new events each time, so I think we should give them more than the 15. I'd say 20.
I was dropping it to 10.
Rachel?
Again, I'm concerned that we're not talking about specific events for this. Reading their application, it doesn't give me any dates for events. It just tells me it's an all year long. I'm not saying the Hyatt Collection is not a valuable member of our community, but they also apply to towns and to the city for funding as well. And I think until it's sorted out, we should be going by the law. And if we go by the law, then they wouldn't qualify for occupancy tax by county distribution. I mean, I'm really struggling with that.
So you're
Dennis.
a 0. Edna?
Where are we at this point?
Oh. 20. I said 20.
She said 20. What did Craig say?
0.
Oh, 0. We gave him 15 last year. I would give him 15 again. I wouldn't increase it.
Kevin?
You know, it's used for promotions, and it does bring people in. I mean, I could go with the, it's suggested 15 by the chairman. I'll go with chairman on this, and I'll go with 15. They do spend 61,000 on promotions.
Dan?
Their marketing budget is over 100,000.
15.
Yeah, but they get money from...
We got 15 on the table.
They came last year for the first time, and this
So there's
committee
7
approved
years.
it. What was the reason for that approval?
I'm not sure if they were going to the town
We've been funding the Hyde since
And
a
giving
long
them
time
money,
ago.
or
Last year wasn't
decided to
2000
come?
Queensbury does.
Why don't you answer your
2012.
question?
Where'd you get that?
I asked for it.
Oh.
Would you like to see it?
I'll take a couple
2005.
cheese pizza slices when you guys are out. All right, so we're at 15? Dan?
Yes.
15, Kevin?
Yeah, I can go with 15.
Edna?
15.
Rachel?
You want me to state my reason again on the record?
Please.
You're
No.
recording. Well, no, you keep making me say it. Based on the current legislation, the scoring sheets in front of us, and the laws that surround the occupancy tax, I think the Hyde is a valuable resource to our community, but it's also applying to other municipalities for that funding, and until we can uniformly apply the law, then I'm a no.
Long no. Jean, yes or no?
15, yeah.
Claudia?
I'd like more, but I'd say yes. I will say yes.
Craig? Okay, done deal. Improv Records. Dave is here, he's, Emons, he's done a lot of, promotions, he's been working through the town and the village. He's cranking up his game here a little, and he's come down to the county. He has a number of events he's, looking at. Does a good job, he's got a lot of connections, had some good shows up there. Kevin?
Yeah, but most of these are done on the county property, correct?
Correct.
So some, we're charging him to put these events on county property?
Correct.
And there's...
We charge all these people.
Well, no, I'm saying,
Don't you charge a Park, don't we charge a Lake Valley?
Yes, we charge. I just, he's renting county property to put them on. I'm just making a point. There's expense there.
Just for one of my events, I'm trying to do Warren County just for my biggest festival. I have two others in the works for the village and the town. The whole idea is to get this one out of that role because we're already strapped for money, so.
Okay.
Was there a recommendation there, Kevin, or?
I would go with the 20,000. I would, I know, Chairman, you took time to go through these. I would go with 20,000.
Rachel?
I think what the sponsor of the event makes a lot of sense in what he just said. Again, based on scoring sheet, he's well over 50 for points. And if we're trying to streamline countywide events and not have those countywide sponsored events go back to the towns and the village, then he should be funded based on the scoring sheet at the maximum amount, based on the number of nights and the economic impact that he's drawing in. So I would say he should be funded as full amount of the request based on the law. But my only question is, in the past, there's been some cancellations of events. Obviously, if something's canceled, the money is...
This is already done deal, $350,000 budget.
Okay.
Our economic impact was close to $600,000. Our bed tax alone kind of calculated at $63,000 for last year. We do a free Friday.
Dave, Seaman. Dave and Seaman.
Thank you. I'll lose this. Okay.
Yeah. So the other ones that got canceled, one I couldn't do outside the season.
Oh, no.
I didn't get as much support.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine line when you're paying $60,000, $70,000 for that. It doubles, you're paying $140,000 to put on a show. In Lake George, it's a micro market that I've been building for 10 years, starting with free Fridays last year.
No, I applaud your effort.
We're all for doing it, with the county and the town and the village, all owning that space. Something happening with that lease.
That's great.
Claudia?
Thanks. What was I going to say? Oh, this event is in September, right? This one, you're looking for this money. So that's important to me because it's on our shoulder. And the application materials say about 6,000 people, and we awarded 35,000 for the Wine Fest, which brings in a little bit more than that. So I kind of along Rachel's line of thinking, if we're going to try to stay consistent, I think that this should get more than 20,000.
Okay.
I stick with the recommendation of 20,000 again. This was a good application with a lot of backup in there. One thing that wasn't on there is the total income, the total expense.
Should be on the last page of the spreadsheet.
Wasn't on
Should be
the
on my actual spreadsheet. So it has, well, in my report to the village, the profit is to be taken in to this, I believe we reported $60,000 in profit. We got $23,000 in funding from the town, the village, and the joint fund combined, last year. So if you take all that out, four partners, I think it's clear about $12,000 per year's work. But I didn't hear anything about profits being generated from any other event that was focused on. But that should be in my village report that I also turned in. This is the actual.
And there's no request to the town or village for this when this is solely county?
I have put in applications with the town and the village and the joint fund because not knowing if I could get funding from Warren County, not be left in the dark.
And is that also at 18,000 this year?
I just, in those applications, I supplemented from what I would get here, what I asked for. If I did not receive what I was asking for, I was trying to supplement through the 3 other avenues that are available.
What's the pleasure of the board? 20? Rachel?
Again, based on the scoring sheet and the legislation, I think he should be funded at the full amount because his score exceeds 50. So he's asking for 50. So, I mean, I'm a no because no one else is going to agree with me on it.
Gene?
So let's call it is.
Well, I would agree with Lou, Rachel. I'd say 25 for the first shot, see what happens for you. But I have one more comment. I know I said I wouldn't say anything, but I think listening to this and going through this every year, I'm going to bring this up at the tourism committee meeting coming up, that I think we should make a form out and have it delivered to every hotel and motel and bed and breakfast in Warren County, that on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, you get these big events, let's get the numbers from the hotel owners. It's not going to be hard for them to do. We don't want to know how much money they made. And if they rent us 50 rooms for the weekend, that's all they have to do is write 50 rooms on February 14th. And that will, because I read these constantly, and sometimes when you try to add up, somebody say, well, we're bringing 60,000 people, but if it's on a day that there's something else and 10,000 come from somebody else and 15 come from somebody else, that whole 60 gets accumulated. And I've always wanted to do this, and I'm going to try, if I get permission from the chairman of the board and our administrator, because it's so easy to give these hotel owners, they don't have to do every week, but it's on these here, Medicaid, this stuff, and we'll get an idea within a week how much those hotels brought in. We don't want numbers or any of that, and then to wind up, we can put that in a folder, and when we get these back, we can see when somebody says, well, I brought in 60,000 people, well, we'll know they brought in 80 or they're 40 or 30.
So how we did that, Gene, was that all of our tickets are sold online. I have every zip code of everybody that bought a ticket. Only less than 10% of our people came from within an hour. Everybody else was outside an hour. So I used that and I based that on 1/3 of all those people got a room for 2 nights. Only 1/3. So
Well, that's why I think we can get it really efficient. We won't have to go worrying about being, use the word, I'm not saying you pad, but there's a lot in here that you look at.
I've learned, from doing smaller events.
Well, I'm good with 25.
25? Claudia?
25.
Craig?
20.
How many of you want 25? How many want 20?
But I'm leaning towards the max, so I'd have to go to 25.
Well, you have to
Well, I'm a no all together because of the
You ready,
way-
Rachel? How many of you are interested in 25 or more? Okay.
Well, we should have started that process earlier.
Yes. Takes me a while, I'm slow. Iroquois Empire Regional Volleyball Association.
I thought they should get the full amount based on the application that I was looking at. I thought it looked like it would be a benefit to the region. I mean, they're only asking for 5,000.
I second Claudia's recommendation on that, again, based on the rules. And their scoring.
Anybody else?
Change the scoring method.
Craig?
The suggested award was 1,000 on there, and it was all, I think, in trying to balance that bottom line. I would support that.
Where is it held?
Kristen?
I just want to make a comment with regards to the volleyball. This is the second time they're coming back. They're adding courts. They're going across the entire region. Washington County, they need the courts. They're going from 32 to about 38 courts. Right now, about 1,000 people wanted for that. Some are staying over. I don't know. I'm representing them. But in terms of overall impact, just so you're aware, when they do come in and they bring in a storefront like they did when they brought the storefront to the dome, the average spend they spent last year on the forecourt alone was $60,000. So this helps offset some of those costs for them to come bring the forecourt back in, which some will be going to the dome, will be going back into the rec center in Glens Falls, and will be going over to.
Thank you. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Full amount.
5? 5? Anybody object to 5? Rachel?
We're going by the rules, Mr. Chairman. I support the 5.
Okay. That wasn't
I
my
support
word.
Jean's idea to get some evidence, too. That would be great.
We're gonna work
For
on
the
it.
chamber.
Well, no.
We're gonna start that.
Get out of
Where are we?
positive stuff coming out of this. Can't wait to revise the scoring.
When do we have our workshop?
Can we do a full day workshop with lots of notice?
There's a lot we went over.
We gotta review.
Yeah.
So it'll just
Great, the fire got to finally be on the mechanic block and the stuff you can't even do.
Let's finish this up and see where we're at.
You know, we're agreeing on. Know that,
North Warren Chamber of Commerce.
Jean and I are hanging out.
150.
I recommend
I couldn't
20,000.
go for it, but that was crazy. Yeah, I'm no, there's no that.
I don't know what they're
We
doing.
don't fund any others.
Kevin?
I'm confused by this.
Craig?
With, there's no objections, we could have the proposer give background on it. He left.
Lunchtime.
Timed out. I mean, here's the concept, that we have a very active Chamber of Commerce, and we're in an area of the county that is underutilized. That is, with proper branding and marketing, we can increase tourism into the northern part of the county. Warrensburg on up. And this was to set through basically a strategic program for it. So that was, they were looking for money to help fund that.
Okay. So what's your recommendation?
So they asked for 150. I would phase this in over years, and I would say 20,000.
Anybody else?
Craig, is that 20,000 gonna get them anywhere this first year?
It would get things started this year. When you look at the anticipated budget here, it would be the start of the branding identity. You know, you look at, we're paying $550,000 to Lake George. We're doing exactly the same thing. This is, you know, bringing up more up into the northern part, right in. I see it as a bit of a resiliency as well. You know, rising tide floats all boats here.
Okay. Anybody else?
Okay.
Rachel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to say, I love Chestertown. I went Thursday and hung out with Craig, and it was beautiful. But again, I think we need to look at these county-wide events and the impact that they have and not duplicating going into town and city funds. My concern is that, you know, what happened with this Lake George CVB didn't happen overnight. That was something that we really struggled for many years to get that funding up to a point where I still don't even think it's adequate. We have branding efforts duplicated, if that's even a word, all over the county. I think we need to start streamlining and talking about a position within the county that could really say, okay, North Warren, you need help with branding as a county-wide effort. We're helping all these entities. Same with social media development. We're giving a lot of money for things that we could be offering as a service paid by county tax dollars across the board. I'm sure Kevin loves hearing that pitch as budget officer, but I do think that we need to start thinking creatively and collaboratively, but I don't think occupancy tax is the right pot of money for money to come out of for North Warren, with all due respect, regardless of how beautiful it is. So my scoring sheet had them at a 0 because there was no event attached to it. But I am in full support of changing that scoring sheet, the legislation, and really making this play by rules.
Thank you.
Respectfully, Craig.
Anybody else? Kevin?
I mean, my only concern with supporting one chamber, will all the other chambers look at it and say, you know,
Absolutely.
they got oxy tax money for their branding in their chamber, and we seem to do that a little bit with Lake George. I understand what you're saying. I mean, I could support them. I know most communities support their chambers now, but this is something over and above. If they had a little bit more specific plan in place where they had dollars and cents, I mean, I could give them something to work on doing this to get started, you know. I mean, yeah, I read that. You know, but it doesn't just show me where.
It doesn't show what?
It doesn't show me.
The Lake George.
It says we're going to brand.
Yeah,
It doesn't say, they're not specific enough. We're going to brand.
The Lake George Chamber is the Lake George Regional Chamber. Lake George doesn't have a chamber. Well, Mike?
Quick one, basically for Gene, is this something that should come out of the tourism budget? Because it is branding and advertising?
Well, I mean, I kind of agree, we could look into it, but we can do more help through social media, and if they give us ideas where they want to promote, we can do that through our social media is phenomenal. You'll hear it next month when we spend $1 million on doing social media, so.
So can we put 20 grand in a lockbox?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I'd like to see them start with 5 or something, because I give my chamber in my town 5,000 to keep it going. Everybody, so how many towns are involved in this one chamber? Or is it just
We're
North
working
Warren?
in Chester.
So you got 3 right
We'd be
there.
reaching across.
So-
Chester.
So you got
Well,
3 right
Chester
there,
makes
so.
3.
If,
I
yeah,
don't know.
what's that?
Is that new map again?
What's that? What's that?
Working in Chester makes
Yeah,
3.
Oh, I was going North Warren, okay, I'm sorry, so 2. And both those towns get tax, so, you know, if we give them 5 and each one of them give them 5, they'll start with 15, and then next year we'll have some. But if they come and see us in the tourism, I think we can help them a little by technical advertising.
Rachel?
I don't follow the math, but what I'm wondering is, we're members of the Adirondack Regional Chamber as a county. Maybe what we could start looking at is joining all of the chambers that are under Warren County, so that we can, as a county-wide focused effort, support that through some of those memberships and those dollars. And, you know, maybe this isn't the right pot of money to be looking at for branding, and maybe there is a different pot of money, and we should be really evaluating our memberships with all these chambers. But is that something, maybe Ryan, we could look into, what the requirements are for membership from the county for all of our chambers?
I think it sounds like it could fold into the economic growth planning effort the Supervisor Wild is working on with me and the chairman, and I see he's taking notes.
There you go, Mike.
Yeah,
Greg?
I agree with you, but like Luzerne, we're regional because we get involved with Hadley and Corinth, which is in our general area. So we call ourselves regional because we have members from both towns on our chamber board.
But not without tax.
Not what,
Sorry.
well, I give
I
the,
wanna join your
I give the chamber 5,000 anyway to take care of all the paperwork and the advertising.
Greg?
There is the Warren County Council of Chambers, is that correct? Yeah, so perhaps there's something to be able to come through on on that. So I'd say at this point, let's pull this application and get back bigger, better.
I think we need to talk it to our tourism committee about helping out.
And economic development, because this does play into, this branding was a spinoff from the Town of Chester Economic Development Initiative that was spearheaded about started 4 years ago, and feedback and various things. And this is one of the weak links that needs to be strengthened to grow the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig. Claudia?
Thanks. I do think that we need to do a better job. We are doing a good job with the Lake George area social media, but we as a county, we're terrible with our web page and social media as a county. So if it needs to go to tourism or, well, not tourism, really support services. Like when people come to the area, they need to have a nice landing page. I'm talking about the county, warrencounty.ny.gov. Not the tourism page is beautiful. That page is beautiful. And being able to support all of our municipalities in a better way. I mean, we do that through the First Wilderness Corridor, but that's only so many towns. That's not all of the towns.
I believe we put money in the budget this year for that.
The website I thought was getting updated like a year ago.
Joanne?
Supervises IT. A couple of points. I think that there needs to be more discussion on something like this. I did sit down with Drew and he reviewed the plan with me. I think it's bigger than just what we're talking about in the room, and that it could apply to many of the smaller communities. We do promote all of the individual towns and the smaller towns, and we work with the individual chambers on social media. We do have hired a new position in our office, and this year, along with Eric, are specifically digital and social media, and part of her responsibility is outreach to the towns. Could we do more than just social media? Absolutely. There's been discussion about a possible community liaison position. If we'd like to bring that up, I think Supervisor Seaver mentioned that. We would love to entertain that. I don't have that capability in the department now, but that was kind of a wish list position. And in terms of Council of Chambers, Candy Brand and I, and Gina, and there's a representative from each of the chambers, there's a very small budget, so in terms of funding for something like Warren, I don't think the Council of Chambers, they could support that initiative, but there's not funding there. So I do think this is part of a bigger conversation, that could there be more support for the smaller communities that just don't have that wherewithal for, branding and talent, for expertise and dollars than others, but to bring it all together a little bit more comprehensive.
Thank you, Joanne. Anybody else? Okay, we are lost. Primetime lacrosse. DeCroy.
The golden, primetime lacrosse.
The suggested award is $20,000, requested is $50,000. I recommend going with the suggested award.
Okay. Anybody else? Rachel?
Well, can I just say the same applies? They scored over a 50 point. Go back on all of this. I just think you've got to be fair. And I don't think our process is fair. So in the efforts of trying, and no, I don't mean that offensively, you know that, Donna. I'm glad to hear we're going to be changing it up. So I would say they should get what they asked for based on their scores.
Christine?
Just to add some information to prime time, just the 4th and 5th years are coming. They're adding additional 60 to 100 teams. They're currently at 2,039 folks so far with 1,100 teams, 1,109 folks pending.
Kevin?
It's coming in July, right? It's in July, peak season.
Well, it's
And
actually it's the weekend after the 4th of July, which is slow.
Okay. Where's it played? Where are they playing?
They're taking fields at Golden Bowl and they're...
That's in Washington County?
It is, however, they're also adding fields here in the region because they've expanded and they've grown. So they're looking for 3 fields across the fall, South Bend Fall, to the Adirondack.
Plus, they're not staying in hotels in Washington County.
No, they're staying in Warren County. I read those. I just didn't know where they're playing.
24,000 plus estimated visitors. That's a lot. If you look at the comparison of other events, we just...
And they're running Thursday through Sunday.
Nothing else is done? Oh, do you have deals? We got
Yeah.
permits, sorry, we got our permits, so. Oh, okay.
We don't have time, okay. 17.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
I'd raise it up to 30. I'll go with 30,000 this year, right? That's a $10,000 increase based on the information that they're gonna expand.
Okay,
I'd like that too.
all right, 30,000. Dan?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Edna?
Yes.
Rachel?
Is it 30,000 or more?
30,000 or more.
Yeah.
Gene? For you, it's 30,000, Gene.
Lisa, I'd say 30.
Claudia?
Yes.
Done deal, I got 2 to go. Well, Mike?
Hey, just a caveat, are we gonna get a report in terms of what we expect this additional money to bring us, in terms of the growth? Next, you have to see that.
She did.
Yeah.
See that?
She did mention that there's expansion.
Yeah.
Put it in the-
Yeah, she's expanding, I'm talking numbers, it's always nice to see numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Golden Goal Sports Park.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, geez, I think
We funded them,
Um,
did not fund them in 2019.
I bet Don knows that. What is that?
Can we have a status update on what is happening with Golden Goal? Anyone?
Where is
Anyone
it?
know?
What do you mean? It looks like.
They're still running. I mean, they've
They are?
changed out their sales manager, and the person in there right now. That's still the owner. They're still running.
I thought I heard they had closed.
Close to winter, but not winter.
Mm, okay.
Rachel?
I'll go with,
Sorry. Rachel?
Thank you. I think again, this is where we see the inconsistency in the applications and the scoring process. So it doesn't identify all those different events and information that we need to make those good informed decisions. So I'm sure they bring a lot into the area, but until those, we get the evidence needed to be able to support those requests, I'd be at the 0.
Anybody else? Craig?
I would go with the recommended, suggested award,
0.
0.
That's 2 zeros. Anybody else? Gene?
0.
Dan?
0.
Ron?
I'm at 0, yes.
Okay. Kevin, I guess you...
I'm at 0.
All right.
Only because it's for equipment, other people don't mind that.
Adirondack Race Management
Triathlon.
Triathlon.
As well.
Rachel?
Again, in reading their numbers and looking at what they bring in and looking at the plot chart on where people are coming in from all around, I don't know why we're taking $1,000 off. I do. I know you're trying to make your numbers, but based on the scoring sheet, again, they should be funded at their full amount for 10.
Anybody else?
I agree with my esteemed colleague from Queensbury.
Oh my gosh.
10,000.
Don, do we have this all on the record?
Anybody else?
I'll have to agree with Rachel also.
Oh my God. Well, welcome back. This is wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for putting me on the
They're also
committee.
getting 10,000 from the town and village as well to put this on, so,
But they're volunteer people.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
No.
So-
Okay.
Again, I would go with the suggested award, 9.
Dan?
I'll go with 10.
All right. 10 it is.
I didn't get to vote. 10.
Sorry, Claudia. We're at 10. Craig?
Yes.
You gotta
Claudia?
record it here.
Yes.
Gene?
Yep.
Rachel?
Wait for it. Yes. yes.
Whoa.
No,
Edna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
You did, Dan.
And
All right,
cinnamon.
it's 10. Got one more.
I really am bummed.
In our other packet.
Yes.
Chris Kindlemart.
Alright. So, this wasn't on the original packet, this just came in today. Yeah.
Change the amount? Yeah, we have numbers, evaluating our costs for this year, we actually want, like request to, make $35,000 for rotate and running winter events. Outlined specifically in the budget,
So 35. Yeah. And this is, does town and village chip in on this?
No.
It says 5,000.
From the town or the village or the joint? I may have, Craig, I can't remember.
Okay.
Well, Mike?
And
Chairman, contrary to some of the things I've said prior, I think this is a great event. I've participated in it twice, as many as you guys know. But at the same time, as I've left that event and driven through the village, basically dark, we're not getting the support from the business community to make this demonstrate what we're hoping it's going to demonstrate. And I don't know how we do that. One of my thoughts, take it to the mall has space, take it to downtown Glens Falls, give an opportunity for the community to kind of benefit from this also, instead of, per se, just the vendors that happen to be there and maybe a couple of businesses in the village. Just food for thought.
Thank you. Rachel?
Two quick things on this. One, I think that if we look at Vermont and we look at some other states, I think what they're going after is that hallmark feel, during the winter, and I applaud that effort. I know it's a fairly new event. Of course, if I'm going off, obviously, I don't like the fact we just got it in, but I'm really just reviewing all of this anyway, even though the majority have been submitted in November, so I really can't hold that against them. But, I'm gonna just recognize here, I'm trying to get this out. I'm gonna recognize here that so many of these applications are talking about tents. They're talking about social media and development and branding, and in the same way that I think we need to, not regarding the community liaison, but the county-wide efforts of social media and updates to websites and focusing on that. I also think, I'm going to agree with the prior comments from the board and Supervisor John Stroud that we need to really start looking at investing county dollars in tents to just stop paying out all of this money every time somebody asks us for it through OCTAX. I mean, let's be smart and look long term. And I don't know the first thing about tents, but we're not here to know everything about everything. We're here to find experts. And it just seems like we're duplicating efforts and requests. So, I'm going to obviously support it for the full amount that is requested based on the scoring sheet and the number until such time we change the scoring sheets in the law. But can we just mark somewhere about this? We just keep paying the same stuff when we could be, why can't we do shared services? Let's look at a consolidated effort.
Duly noted.
Mayor's looking at
Duly noted.
Anybody else, Gene?
Yeah, I'm gonna, and the reason why this is late, because we just had it Dayton just had it in December, and by the time we got all the figures and everything else, it wasn't until early January, so it's not that late.
You're right.
But I fully supported this, and I agree with that tent idea very much. I've been saying that for years, but we never do it. But what happened with this year, these poor people worked hard for 6-8 months to get this going, and 2 days before the event, we had a snowstorm. So we had to clean the field off and take care of that. But the thing that they did do, they had a great season the year before. They tried to expand it with bigger tents and an extra tent. Well, I think something that nobody really thought of, and I don't blame them at all, is that propane that keeps them tents warm costs them a fortune. It was way up there. So we want off-season winter vents, but when we have them outside, we gotta be prepared to have the tents and the heating systems to keep them going. Saturday I went twice, never went in once, because I only had a half hour to kill, and couldn't get a parking space, so came back 3 hours later and it was still full. So maybe we didn't have people downtown Lake George, but if this idea, if I can convince Joanne to work with me on that, we would have found out what all the hotels, motels, anybody that was open got in that day for that 3-day event actually. But, you know, and that'd give us a better idea. It's not what the stores do, it's more what the hotels and motels do. So I'll support the 35.
You know that we had 1,710 people that came. We had a
Could have counted me twice, but I didn't go in.
And then we also had approximately 100, a lot of people came more regionally this year, and we also had major factors with regard to the weather. So we got hit with the snowstorm, you know, the weekend before, we got hit with the snowstorm on Friday, which affected a lot of the impact of where people come further from. But they still came from a distance, they still came from Long Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Montreal, Louisiana.
No, and just to the point, Supervisor Molino, if you can look at the budget, 80% of our expenditures are related to that. And Supervisor Strauss was marveling at the structure of the 10,000 tents that were put up in several days. The way they assembled those tents, that tent would have been good for, you know, could be a semi-permanent structure. But again, it's just for this event, it's by far and away the largest event. And it's something that we just have to pay for.
Are we looking at though an indoor space to host it, like the Civic Center?
We have in the past, traditionally they're not indoors, they're not.
I think a lot of the draw is just outside. Expect it to be cold and you come prepared for that.
There are other markets like that that aren't in buildings.
Great.
How much did we support last year?
So cute.
10,000.
You get the,
Okay.
So what's their
the
total?
new,
Even Lifetime will come and film and like.
Anybody else on the board?
Yeah, yeah.
Request is 35. Craig's throwing out 10,000. Gene?
I'll make it to 35.
35.
So so the 20, listen, I'm all for giving what they asked for, but I don't want to give more than what they asked for, so.
Well, he just amended it, didn't he?
Yes.
They're asking for 35.
Oh, she said they needed it.
They're asking for 35.
Right, but
originally.
20 plus 30,
No.
but 20 plus 10, right? That I'm looking at here.
No, you can't go on that spreadsheet.
Where's the
It's just-
revised
It's
one?
just
It's
application.
on the table of their budget in the back.
They
With-
just
with-
want-
So you're asking for 35.
Yeah.
And
They
the
just
point,
increase their ask up.
and how many people did you say you got? 4,000? You know? Just let me get off my scoring sheet.
And 127.
Mike?
Good question for the teams, and I know, I would say you guys work really hard. Is that extra money gonna cover propane if it's not donated?
Apparently, it's covering that.
All right, we've got two proposals on the table, 10 and 35.
It's listed for projected revenue, there's also $15,000 coming from various towns. Total of 25,000, coming to 10.
Edna?
Well, the choice is.
10 or 35? Or some number of your fancy.
I'll do the 10 for now and see what happens. 10.
Kevin?
I'll do the 35.
Dan?
Yeah, I'll go with 30.
Claudia?
Boy, I think 35 is a lot.
It is.
Oh, but they don't necessarily, if you don't spend it, you won't ask for it, right? Or are you just gonna spend it?
I'm sure they're gonna spend it.
They all do.
And I would suggest that maybe, we look at the county contract for buying propane.
And tents.
It's a lot cheaper than what you would pay
Absolutely.
on the,
Yeah, why
open
are we
market.
doing that?
I thought they were
They
donating
got a lot of
propane.
donated propane for Bowl.
Oh, that's good, but Bove is the cheapest one. But they were the county contractor, and I can tell you, if you look on the open market and see what we buy it for.
We pay like $1 something versus
$1.04,
$2 or something.
Well, we're paying through our tax, which is the county center, why can't they get the contract rate on the propane?
All right, we're at 35, Gene.
Yes, 35.
Rachel? Oh, you made it.
Did you do your formula?
Did I make it? No, I did my formula. I said I need time to do my formula based on our law, Schedule A. So, I just want to reiterate that countywide events, we should really be looking at just county funding for countywide events. I understand that's not what's happening, but based on that,
That was the idea when we started, Rachel.
well, yeah, I got it, but that's not being uniformly applied. The rules aren't applying to everybody, so,
We need to do that, I agree.
yeah. But anyway, yes, 35. Is that what you're looking for?
Okay, 35. Craig?
Yes.
Claudia? Yes. Gene?
What is
35.
He wants
Yes,
to vote
yes,
on
I said.
35.
Rachel?
Didn't I just do
Going
that?
back around.
Going back
Yes,
around.
right? Why are we doing it?
35?
I went for 10 the first time, I was supposed to do it the second.
What?
Yeah.
No, you can-
Go 3 and
Whatever
see
you
if
want.
you
Kevin?
change.
35.
Dan?
Yes.
All right, it's 35. Okay, here's what we're gonna do.
All right.
Lisa's gonna tell you how much you missed it by.
And how much we have to cut?
2.7 million.
I think
Yeah.
we should reduce off the other, and tell the towns and cities, don't give them the money for the events that we're giving them here. You know, take the money from the other spending plan, plot it over what we're short here.
425,
Tell them don't apply.
750. Write that down.
What is that?
425, 750.
That's what we came up with, Dennis, to spend?
425, 750. You missed it by that much.
425.
No, not that.
Oh, yeah, different.
2,000.
So, hold that thought, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
425.
Hey, are we taking a break?
Yeah.
There you go, 35.
Less 365, Lisa, what's that?
35. 60,750.
Yeah.
You're 60,750 over.
Take it from reserve, spend it.
Does it really?
No.
I do have a question.
Motion to adjourn, no.
Yeah, right. Dennis didn't get us anything to eat, I guess, huh?
Hey, you didn't go out for pizza?
No, geez, I went out, the girl sitting ordering.
Budget, remember?
He stopped you on that. I was.
I remember that.
Yeah, all the time.
We did, and now we're not even supposed to.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. Is everybody ready?
Yeah, so hopefully.
We are over $60,750.
Right.
We are gonna take that out of the fund balance. So we're gonna leave them at the numbers that we agreed to, and we're gonna read those off so everybody will know what they are.
She'll do a new printout, right?
She'll do that as well.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so it's,
Do you want a motion to do that, son?
Yeah. Kevin, we do.
I'll make a motion, we take the overage, 60,750, right?
Correct.
Out of the reserve fund at one time, and then start to tighten up the rules and come
Review them,
with the
revamp.
concrete rules on when we're gonna go from this point forward.
Okay.
Second.
Dan, any discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Oh, the rest of your committee's missing.
Now we got 5 votes.
Okay.
You got a quorum.
Are we doing the spending plan?
All right, let me read these off and we'll revisit the spending plan.
The screen's not big enough. So I'll send you. Okay, so Adirondack Festival.
Adirondack Festival is 35,000, Balloon Festival's 35.
Sports
The
Complex.
Sports Complex is 40.
Albany Rosin Festival.
Rods and Custom Car Show is 25. Americade's 50. Basketball's 25. The Winter Carnival is 35. The Chamber is 12,500. Bicycle Promotions is 5,000. The Bike Rally is 10. 4th Annual Garage, 41st Annual Garage Sale is 28,250.
What is it? It's 28,250?
28,250.
Was it?
Yep. Block Party's 5, Marketing is 15 for the Hyde. Adirondack Music Festival is 25.
Right.
Yep. The Regional, is that?
Iroquois Empire.
Volleyball.
5,000.
Champions are 5,000. North Warren Zero National Invitational Lacrosse is 30,000.
Yep.
Triathlon is 10,000. Chris Kindlemart is 35,000. And the total is $425,750.
Right.
Those are yours, so we
Okay.
made a motion to fund them all.
Now, what do you want to do with the spending plan?
Wait, are we taking the motion right now?
No,
Oh.
already did.
Can I get a motion to approve the list I just read off to you? Edna and Kevin?
Did you guys do anything while we were gone? While us ladies were
We
in the
did, we
bathroom?
violated you.
That's not funny, Dennis.
No.
No, seriously.
No, seriously.
Yes.
Yes. We're taking the money out of reserve.
What reserve? The Octax reserve?
Mhm.
Do we ask our treasurer, is Mike Swan still here?
We-
He already
we-
paid.
No, we don't need him.
I know, but he's the one that keeps.
Oh, we're taking it out of the reserve, and we have a condition of the approval that we go back and revisit it and straighten all this out before next year.
So we're taking it out of here.
But we're also gonna revisit the qualification criteria.
Yep. Yes, yes, yes.
Revise that for next year.
Now, the spending plan, is that what you're asking for now?
Yeah. Did we vote on that?
No.
Oh.
We're voting on the list. Everybody ready?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed. But I'm opposed based on.
Opposed to everything.
No, I'm not. I voted
Put it
yes on
down
a
for
bunch of
now.
stuff, Dennis.
Okay.
Listen, for the purposes that, again, I don't think this process is, okay, I'm,
We heard you.
No.
Kevin put in a rider in there that we're gonna revisit it and straighten it out before next year.
From what we talked about and voted on, and it either passed or
Right.
didn't pass then.
No.
Okay.
What we agreed.
So I'm fine with that.
No, the spending plan.
Okay.
no, we kept everything.
Yep.
The spending plan,
Wait, I thought we said we were gonna talk about that some other
We
time.
are.
Today?
No,
We're talking about
hold
it?
on.
Can we please be done?
I think we've had enough today.
Can
Yeah.
Dennis?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, I wanna talk
I'm
about
fine.
the
I
spending
withdraw.
plan here. We've been here all morning.
Okay. Can we wait the spending plan for when we have an opening where we can spend more time? Just concentrate on the spending plan and get the information out to everybody, even in 2 weeks, Dennis, even if we did it before the February board meeting. Would that be all right, Brian?
At the pleasure of the committee.
Well, I mean, what have we done? I mean, does that mean they can't distribute any money?
No, we typically have all of these on the same resolution.
I know, but I mean,
Doesn't
I
mean we
think,
have to
I
do it
think
that way.
we'd like to have a good discussion. We can come back in 2 weeks or something when there's an opening.
Okay.
And just sit and just do nothing but this resolution, and
Okay.
maybe we can get the information, go back to 2004,
Okay.
look at everything and see where we've gone awry. To give us more time to hash it out. I mean, I'm for keeping the spending plan, to be honest with you. I mean, I could vote today on it, but I know there's concerns.
Okay. Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just echo what Supervisor Garrett indicated. Our 2020 budget is in place. Not only our general fund and our highway fund, but our OCTEC, which is part of the budget, everything's in place and in motion. That's what's done thing. Now that you have so graciously and properly funded the wine and cheese, are you going to restore Lake Prairie, Lake George, and Bolton to the previous 60,000? The funding was taken away from those three municipalities 2 years ago to fund the wine and
No,
cheese.
no, it was only a little bit.
Well, whatever it was, I think Bolton was $4,000 or $5,000. I think it
Huh?
was 16,000 at that time. And we just funded it.
5,006.
Village.
Oh, it's 5,000.
About 5,000.
I guess what I'm just asking, is that being restored?
Well, but we haven't voted on that.
We're not gonna talk about that today. If we could, just please.
My-
I'm hangry.
Would be I have a question about this number.
Just put that out there.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the schedule that of occupancy tax spending plan, county event funding, is that number then going to be $425,750?
Yes.
Where's it coming?
Reserve. We already voted to bring a ticket from reserve, the extra 60,000 from reserve. What's that? $1 million.
Yeah.
I know that. That's more than that.
And Lake George Convention Visitors Bureau, is that going to be $550,000 or is it?
Not gonna be 50,000, it's already in place.
Okay. We're gonna set a,
Actually, only have to, because we've approved the civic center funding today, we probably would just decide it for the town.
Did we already approve this contract?
Right, we're just already done.
It's already done. Okay,
Oh my
then all we
God,
need are
did that just happen?
Brad,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. One, just to reiterate what Mike Swan says, we are in a downward spiral in our reserve, in our money for the octet, so we really need to be concerned about that. And the 60,000 coming out of reserve, you know, I understand doing that, but we did talk about this last year when we did that we need to tighten the rope. So I guess I'd ask for, can we set a date where we can start changing the things, where we can start tightening the rope?
yes. You can.
Can we have that date like today, or we gonna talk about it?
You gotta look at
No,
the schedule.
we gotta get it scheduled, Brad, but we'll get it in there and let everybody know.
Going right at it,
Yep.
Make sure we.
We will have a meeting, are we gonna table this spending?
Yeah.
We're not,
All right.
we're just.
We're gonna have a meeting January 30th. Do you think it's gonna take more than an hour?
Yeah.
I think so.
January 30th, like as in.
January 30th.
January 30th.
It's next week.
After we get
I
back
will-
from you guys, we're gonna be at nice, how are we supposed to get all this information, look at it all? Now I gotta come down to tourism, I really would like that scanned and emailed. I think that's really critical, the intent of occupancy.
Can we get a calendar in
Can we
this
work
room?
it with February 3rd, week of February 3rd?
No, there's no reason we can't get that.
Huh?
I'll copy them for you, but I won't scan them.
So we'll.
Hold on, aren't there other meetings that day?
Personnel at 10,
Do it after
finance at
finance
10:30.
on the 30th.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
personnel
we do
and
have-
finance.
Guys,
It's
that's
gotta
too
be done
soon.
before the board meeting. Pick a date.
So
The board
how
meeting's
about-
not till February 21st, right?
So we got.
Yeah, the board meeting's not till mid-February.
We're down at NISAC on the 27th, 28th.
Right.
So that would be Thursday, we got personal and finance that day?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Is that all right with you, everybody?
That's fine with me. We have those other
Well,
two meetings.
what information would you like?
Well,
to-
I've
to-
sent 4 emails today on information that I've never seen before, asking for it, and now I'm also apparently gonna go borrow, can I bring it home, the book? Like,
I know, you don't look
It's
too
the only
trustworthy
book
to
I
me.
have.
Why can't we?
Hey, you know
Let me
what,
ask you a question.
I got
I mean, what information would we like, would
I really,
would the
could we at
committee-
least, like, we're all gonna be at NISAC, or the majority of us, could we at least maybe look at the 6th of February?
No, we're looking at the 30th after the finance meeting.
Well, that'll be a start. What information though? I mean, I wanna make sure people get the information ahead of time.
The county, I want
You want the
2017
individual-
and 2018 by town, reports that are put into the county attorney's office, the after-action plans for the county, as well.
You can get
events.
copies of those reports? Yeah, okay.
And, I don't
You want
know.
the complete report, because the form is the same for everybody.
Right.
Like,
Well, I'd like to see them filled out and what.
well, they should be the same.
receipts and all
Yeah,
that kind of
with the
stuff.
with the, it's one sheet, and it tells you what the balance is by community.
But why do we need to rush it for the 30th? I don't understand.
Well, we could start. How about we start that day?
I know what that means. It means that we're gonna meet on the 30th and we're gonna vote on it on the 30th.
That does not necessarily mean that. We control what we do. You listened today, didn't we?
Whatever, but will you support me if I ask for more time on the 30th if I don't have it?
Yes, absolutely.
Edna, you'll support that?
I will.
Okay, if both of you, because then that means I'll have enough to have more time. And Claudia, you'll support that?
I will not be here that day.
Well, she's not gonna be here.
That's okay, so
I
we
have
won't
a
vote
budget.
that, we won't come up with a spending plan until the whole committee is present. How's that?
Okay, until she's able to be here and participate in that discussion.
Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just so this doesn't come up again, but I think I heard it 4 or 5 times during the meeting. Ryan, would you once again look at the contracts that the county has with the towns, and I guess once again come to a conclusion as to whether those contracts are appropriate or not, because the suggestion has been put out there that there's certain activities that aren't eligible, and I'm not sure that's completely correct. I know it's not correct. It's not correct for the contracts that the town entered into. Since the inception of this program with the municipalities, and it would be nice to be able to take that off the table, because it misdirects the focus of the committee and the board and the public at large, because these are televised. So I think it's very, very important. I mean, with all due respect to my colleagues, their reading of something is their reading of something. But if the county is entering into inappropriate or contracts, then we should amend those contracts, at least progressively, if we can't retroactively. And we should make everybody aware of that. So, and I'm not offering that as for any debate today. That's not why I'm offering. I'm offering it in that I think going forward, I think that those are the types of statements that you're entitled to your opinion. The opinion that counts as it relates to the county is the county's legal opinion. And the county's legal opinion goes, I assume, into each and every contract that the county enters into and has a belief. And so to call all of that into question, I think is unproductive. Now, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but that's very important that be once again asked and answered, and once again taken on, and so we can move on to the discussion that we really have to have.
This packet is filed each year in the county attorney's office. This is the report for 2018 of how all the towns spent the town allocations as line items. The tourism department goes through that, and I go through that. If there are items that we flag where we need a little more information, it's been my experience, you just call the town supervisor, excuse me, and they'll tell you what it is. I don't see anything, if somebody mentioned fertilizer, I don't see anything in any of these reports on fertilizer. So I would encourage anybody that's curious about it to look at it, and if you have a question about something that's spent, contact the supervisor.
I was only involved with that last year, so I don't know.
Right.
I need that from the previous.
Okay.
Rachel?
To be clear, I'm not making those allegations. I'm asking to see the documents, and I'm only as good as the information, that is provided to me. This has not been provided to me. 17, 16, 15, 14, all the way back to 2005 has not been provided to me. So I'm not sitting here making any type of an allegation. I am simply asking for transparency, and I'd like to be clear on that in case we're misunderstanding each other. Thank you.
Rachel, I believe what you asked me for in the email was to be funded from 2005, and I gave you a spreadsheet.
I have that from you, but it's a separate email I sent to Mary just this morning, and I don't expect for immediate,
Marvelous.
no, I'm just saying, I think that information should just be attached to our, when we're considering these things. That chart you gave me was very helpful, but every member of this board should see it.
I'd like to see the chart.
You know, without me having to ask for
I'd like to
it.
get a printed copy, because I can't print that big paper. We can't afford that big paper.
Exactly, maybe could we please have printed
But-
copies sent out? Thank you.
But as far as the town reports, I don't have those.
Well-
Okay, I'll get that.
Kevin?
I only looked at them last year, so you can get those from the
Okay.
county attorney.
Thank you.
Right, and the county attorney, we changed that form in, what, 2015? Yeah, it was before your time, but I think, believe in 2015, we changed the form, it's a one-page form, everybody's supposed to do it the same way. I think the first year we did it, we didn't get them, but now everybody is lined right up, and everybody is typing in the same information on the form, I believe, and I know that in Mary's office, they have those forms and they can get them for us, but that would be helpful, that we all looked at the same thing. If you have a question about an expense, we can talk to the attorney.
Do you want me to give all of you the?
Yeah, we might as well do it.
Oh, I think
Anybody
it's
else?
helpful.
Anything else?
My question is, I'm a little, how is it helpful? I don't understand how, knowing how my occupancy tax money was spent is super helpful. Tell me, how
Sure.
helpful is it? What are you gonna do with that information?
No, that's a good question, because as an at-large, and half your board really is made up of at-large and ward representatives, right? So we're talking about changing the spending plan moving
Right.
forward, and as we start talking about how county-wide events should be funded versus those one-day town and village events,
Right.
I mean, all we're trying to do is get an idea on, okay, are they all the one day? You know, we've had discussions here today about infrastructure. We've had members of the public bring up fertilizer. We've had rate pots and money discussions. I think educating ourselves or taking that time to review them all isn't accusatory. It's simply a knowledge
I do think
base.
so. I've heard it said several times here today, that if we funded that event on this sheet today, then the town shouldn't be funding the same event. And I think we're all guilty of doing that. That's the first I heard of it, that, you know, like the garage sale, I supplement our Chamber of Commerce on the garage sale. Well, if the county's funding it to a tune of $28,000, then they shouldn't be coming to me,
For money,
asking me for money
right,
for the
that
same
was
event.
kind of
So
what-
we won't know that
Unless you look at both.
unless we have the reports in front of us, and then we can,
Right.
you can say, whoa, wait a minute now. So you
Yeah.
may have more money in your budget, and I may have more money in my budget if I wanted to funnel it somewhere else. That's the first
Well,
time.
I understand why you can't. It's all OCTAX money. What's the difference?
Yeah, but that's the first time I heard that today, that we
Yeah,
shouldn't be
I
funding
know.
county
I
events.
do that all the
No,
time.
We talked about that before. If it was funded by the county, and the town didn't have to fund it, but it was up to the town to do what they want. I believe that's what was said, but I'd have to go back into the minutes.
Mary?
We're getting there.
Yeah, it was last year. I mean,
Yeah, the only thing that the contract actually says is you can't submit the same receipts for reimbursement from the county and the town. So
Right.
it's not that you can't fund, well, legally, you guys decide how you guys wanna do it, but legally, right now, you just can't pay for the same expenses. You
Right,
can use that
absolutely, and
money
they know
for
that, but I still fund the garage sale and I still fund Bike Week. I'd love to tell Ed, I'm not gonna fund you because the county
Well,
gives you.
look at his market, he has very little in marketing expenses.
Yeah.
What are we reimbursing?
Just a question I think you can answer.
I know.
Mayor Blaze doesn't give any of his OCTAX to companies that make money,
No.
right? And that's something you think about.
No.
He doesn't
He does
fund
not.
anything that
He
makes,
keeps it all
you know,
for himself.
makes money, makes a profit. Because, you know, some of them you read, they are making profit, but, you know, but,
Well, that's why I keep going back and reminding, I think it was all to set things up, get things going, and then pull back a little.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Edna? Second Claudia?
Yep.